live. Looks like you're ready. Okay, I want to go live. Ah, okay. All right. Hey, y'all. It's Dr. Know-It-All. I hope this last time worked. There we go. I seem to be live now. Yay. Okay. You just never know. It takes a while for this thing to work out. Okay. All right. Third time's a charm. So hi, everybody. It's good to be with you. Let me kind of get things worked out. I was just saying that I've got a, whoops, got to turn this down on my phone because I want to keep track of your comments and all. Anyway, I was just saying that I've got an entirely new setup, new computer, and I'm trying to work with my lavalier microphone instead of, let me just move that around a little bit. Yeah, my lav mic, etc. So anyway, hopefully things are going well. And let me just check Discord. Now we're live. Okay, thanks guys. All right, I'm going to try to, so like I said, this is a completely different setup, so I'm going to try to keep things kind of organized here. I do have exciting news. Let me just get this kind of fixed up over here so I can see, because I want to be able to see my Discord folks, because they keep me on track if anything gets kind of funky. Anyway, so yeah, let's, hold on, let me get on here. Cool. All right, I have got the chats going. Sound is good. Thank you, Tom Kennedy. I appreciate that. Okay, so the exciting news here, as you can see, there is a live stream from Mars Embassy up. I actually meant to put that in the description, but I managed to not remember to do that. I will definitely do that before the replay, so if you're not watching this live, it'll be there. But if you just go to YouTube and search for Mars Embassy, you will find his live streams. He's got actually 2 of them. I think I've got his cell phone one up here too. Yep, there we go. Let me actually make that look a little bit better because it's not quite centered at this point. But anyway, he is an amazing person, and he's down there on the ground, boots on the ground, working super hard to get footage for everybody. This is actually from the Holiday Inn across the little channel from where Boca Chica is, because of course everything's shut down. So you can see it is a really gloomy day, kind of gross out there. But anyway, it's super important. He has been working since October on this, and he still has not gotten his channel monetized. So that's why I'm telling you all about this. If you're watching, you should definitely go to Mars Embassy. You should subscribe to his channel, and then like just live stream him in the background, and or not in the background. You can watch it. But anyway, I think it's super important to do that. It's really important to support the folks who are actually in Boca Chica and in South Padre Island, because it's really hard work. I know, I was just there for a week and it was crazy, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's pretty nuts. So oh, actually I just realized, I think my FaceCam camera has frozen apparently. That is unfortunate. I am not sure. Let me see if I can make a new one. That's very unfortunate. So you're definitely hearing me, but you're not seeing me. Let's see. Video capture device. There we go. Existing FaceTime camera. Let me see if I can get a new one up. Check, check. Oh, so great. This is what I get for trying a new FaceTime camera. That is pretty well sucky, because it's actually, I think I may have to quit and start over again, and that's really unfortunate, because I don't know how to fix that without resetting the FaceTime camera. That is really, really sucky. All right. Okay, so let me give just a second. I'm going to start this over again. I apologize. I don't know what the heck is going on. I may have to go back to my old system if this thing keeps failing, but for today, we're going to make an attempt to do this, and hopefully the video will work. So anyway, I will be back in just a second. Just hold on tight. Hey, y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. Let's try this again. I'm hoping that my, yeah, okay. It's good to know that that's actually working. Let me go, and hopefully the stream will start itself over again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. It's actually fairly robust to that, so that's good. I apologize. I don't know why my stupid FaceTime camera, this is a new Apple M1 Mac, by the way, so it should hopefully be much, much quieter and operate better, but in the meantime, it seems to be having serious hiccups with the FaceTime camera. Whoopsie. All right. So anyway, I'm trying to get Mars Embassy. I was just talking him up, and now I can't get his thing to get started. I'm not exactly sure why we're having an issue in terms of loading his page. But anyway, okay. In the meantime, we are going. So let me see what we got. Hold your nose. We see a past version of you. Yeah. I noticed. It was not so good. So let me see if I can get this to actually decide it wants to load. Everything is taking a lot of time. Okay. It is the same place, obviously. Something Doc doesn't know how to do. Apple M1 does not even have fans. Exactly. So you won't hear the fan noise anymore. That's what I'm hoping for, and that's why we got this thing. I'm trying to get this live stream up. Here we go. Put it in theater mode. I don't know why it keeps defaulting back to regular mode. There we go. I think we're finally getting going, and let me move this over a little bit to recenter it. And there we go. All right, so there we go. So anyway, I was just talking before this all went to heck, and I had to restart everything. I was just saying that you should definitely give Mars Embassy some love. He is down there. It is really hard work, and his channel is not monetized yet because you have to have 1,000 subscribers, which he has, but it's either 4,000 or 5,000 hours of viewing too. So any hours of viewing that you can give him or minutes of viewing or anything like that is really helpful. It would, I'm sure he would very much appreciate it, and a subscribe would be lovely too. So anyway, show your appreciation. He's a lovely guy. I met him when I was down in Boca Chica, and he has been very, very instrumental in saying that, or very wonderful in saying that we could use his live stream. So anyway, this is from the Holiday Inn, which is across the sound, like I was saying, from the Boca Chica site. So that's in South Padre Island. And you can definitely see just how, you know, crappy the weather is right now. We also have, when we get closer to the launch, we have the SpaceX thing. Let me go in here and just reload that. Starship. I'm assuming that there's still nothing to see. Yeah, they've got their SN11. So not really worth looking at that right now. So anyway, but yeah, that's what the view is. It's not the greatest view in the world because it is extremely foggy. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm definitely happy to answer questions. I actually left my door open this time because my dogs were they were saying that they wanted to, oh, SpaceX live stream. Wait, that's really weird that that's popped back up again. That is a very strange thing. Anyway, I was like very meta that I was actually seeing myself, like, you know, my own stream there. So anyway, it looks like there are problems in terms of, so it looks like we've actually got advertisements on here. Okay. Speaking of monetizing, so there you go. Let me go back in here and interact here quickly, and that's my live stream. That is really, really weird. Let me see if I can go in and fix this problem. We definitely don't need that. Let me go and turn this back. I'm going to go to Mars Embassy's cell phone instead, and let me get this guy set for theater mode because for some reason it always wants to go back to the regular. Okay, so anyway, there's not an awful lot to see there because it's so crappy and cloudy, but I'm going to try to reload this page. Okay, all right, and let's see what we got in terms of this. That's very, very strange that it's gone on to mine now. Anyway, wow, all sorts of technical problems. Even when we're not down in Boca Chica, we still have technical problems. Josh says he's an Apple M1 fan. Me too. I'm really waiting. I have not had a chance to really give it a test yet, but interestingly enough, it is chewing down some serious processing power right now. Doing this, these live streams really kick their butts, man. It's all pretty nasty. Cars are coming back to the pad. That's what I'm getting from Discord. That is a very unfortunate fact. It may very well be scrubbed today, so we will see. But anyway, let me see. I'm trying to get Mars Embassy's live stream back. I think it went away, so I'm trying to just go snag it quick. So give me 1 second here. That's what I get with multiple monitors going on. All right, let's see. That's not the one. This is the one. Yes, okay. Here we go. I'm just going to copy and paste this into my OBS software where hopefully it will be happy. So anyway, people, if you have questions, definitely by all means ask me questions. All right, I think that what happened was the live stream got changed. Yep, it sure did. So I'm going to fix that now. All right. Yeah, everybody's having issues down in Boca Chica. It looks like the internet might be being pegged really, really hard. So not surprising. I think everybody's really interested in watching this launch. So I think we're getting a whole bunch of stuff going on. Okay, so, yep, off topic, Starship, but how do you like the new iMacs? From Andre, I actually really like the new iMac. This is kind of a weird situation though, because what happened was I had a desktop computer and it was just behaving really, really badly. And I said to myself, you know what, I just gotta like fix this and change it around. And I was gonna get another desktop, and then everyone was like, you should just get a laptop with a docking situation so you can dock it. And I was, all right, maybe they're not the only ones having problems. Maybe I'm the one who's having a problem. That is crazy. Yeah, OBS just decided to crap out. So interestingly enough, I think that the M1 is really cool, but a lot of software is not designed for it yet. And I think that the software that I'm using is not native to the M1 yet. And so I think it's actually having to work extra hard, which is causing some problems. So apologies. Anyway, let's see what we got going on here. I am trying to get this live stream to launch. Okay, anyway. So yeah, there we go. All right. Oh my goodness, so many problems today. Sorry. It's what you get. You should always test out your new stuff before you actually bring it live, right? But it's just really hard to do that. So, all right, let me see if we can do that. There we go. So now we've got a new stream. It looks like, yeah, it looked like what happened was Mars Embassy's thing crashed. So it's back up again now. So what Josh says, what % chance do you think the Cyberlander coming to fruition? Oh, I think that's actually a very high degree of chance. I think, in fact, it's very, very likely that the Cyberlander will come to fruition. So I'm a huge fan. I think the Cyberlander is going to be awesome. And I'm actually, if we can figure out how to save up the money for the Cybertruck and the Cyberlander, we're definitely going to be getting a Cyberlander. We just have to figure out how to save up the money for both of those. Shawshank, hey, it's good to see you again, Shawshank. How good is it to store cryogenic fuel in Starship when it will be in orbit? Doesn't it put structural strain on the Starship stainless steel? Interesting. Oh, gosh. Okay, so that is a really good question. And cryogenic is, all cryogenic fuel is not created equal. So, so what I mean to say by that is if you take hydrogen, which is the lightest element, and it's really, really good for specific impulse because it's very light and it can travel quickly. There's a whole thing with that. But anyway, the problem with hydrogen is that the molecules are tiny because it's basically just a proton. And so they can actually kind of get out of most things. So hydrogen tends to leak, and that's not good. Now, methane, on the other hand, is CH4, right? So it's a carbon and 4 hydrogen. So that's a much, much bigger molecule. Oh, interesting. A boat is going by. I guess that's probably out of the range of where they're closing down everything, but that may not be a good sign if there's a boat going by. Of course, it might also be a Coast Guard boat. It's a little hard to tell. But anyway, so yeah. So the cryogenic fuels, hydrogen has to be stored at very, very low temperatures. Oxygen is much, much higher, but it's also super corrosive. CH4 is probably the easiest thing to store because you can store it at relatively high cryogenic temperatures. So that should actually be okay. As far as the strain on the stainless steel, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that's probably the biggest issue. I think the biggest issue is going to be the storage ability and like having it not boil off, right? Because you're sitting there and you're in the sun, right? If the sun is hitting the Starship on one side, it's going to get very, very hot, which is going to cause the propellant inside to get hot unless it's really well insulated, which, you know, you can mitigate that for a while by running chillers and things like that all over it. And so that'll work for a period of time, but it's not going to work permanently. And for long-term storage in orbit around the Earth, and especially when you get to the moon and if you had to go to Mars or something, that's going to be a significant challenge. They're going to have to actively cool all of it in order to try to keep it, you know, contained. As far as putting stress on the stainless steel, I mean, think about like an airplane. Every time you go up to altitude in an airplane to, what is it, 10 or 11,000 meters or like 35,000 feet or so, every time you do that, you're putting a massive amount of strain on the aluminum structure of the plane, and yet they fly lots and lots and lots of times, right? So eventually they will get strained and they will wear out, but it takes a lot, and those are aluminum frames. If you're talking about a stainless steel frame, that's going to be pretty strong. So I think the bigger problem, honestly, is going to be leakage and boil off and everything, rather than the stress on the stainless steel. Plus the fact this 30X whatever magic stainless steel they have is supposed to be really good with cryogenic temperatures. So anyway, I hope that helps to answer the question. I personally don't think that the strain on it is going to be nearly as big an issue as leakage and boil off. So maybe that will work. Oh gosh. So M-Punk says every stream is stopped. So I'm getting, I mean, obviously Mars Embassy's stream is not like super much in real time, but I'm at least getting some frames out of it. So, Dr. D says crew is back on the pad, and William Franklin says, are they going to paint the Starships? That is an interesting question. I do not believe they will, William. I think that the odds are, remember that fully half of the Starship, the half that's going to be facing into the wind. So, right, as it's coming down, let's see, this is not, it's a little too symmetrical. But anyway, as the Starship is coming down into the atmosphere, the part that's down here that's facing the atmosphere, so the windward side, is going to get extremely hot. So all of that is going to be covered up in those black tiles. And those black tiles, of course, are what they keep putting onto the Starships. And, you know, they put them all over the place, and then they crash the Starship, so they never get a chance to see how they work. But eventually, the flaps on the bottom side and fully half of the Starship is going to be black, just from those heat tiles. So that means that, you know, you'd only be painting half of the Starship at the most. And I think the stainless steel actually is a really good reflector. Now, maybe they would paint it white eventually, possibly, to reflect off heat. Right, because the sun is very, very strong, and if it hits the stainless steel, it could easily cause the stainless steel to warm up a lot. So it's possible. I know the lunar Starship they've got painted white, and that's probably because it's going to spend all of its life in space, and it's going to have to deal with the fact that it's going to have very, very high heat. One of the problems that people don't think about a lot with being in space is you can only cool something radiatively, or heat it radiatively. And what does that mean? So most of the cooling that happens, I've got this little fan over here on the side. Hopefully you can't hear it. Hopefully it's not too loud, but it blows air, right? And so that's conductive heating. That means that the little cooler air molecules are hitting my skin and cooling my skin down. Or if you sweat, the same thing happens, right? You can't do that in space because there's no air molecules. So you have to radiatively cool something. Conduction, convection, and radiative, yeah. So you can't do conduction or convection in space. You can only do radiative. And radiative heating is really, really inefficient. So that's a big problem. And that's one of the reasons why they rotate spacecraft a lot, because they have to try to keep them from baking on one side and chilling on the other. So anyway, that's kind of what you do. But so I could see painting it white could be very useful if it's going to live in space only. I'm not positive it's going to be the most or the best thing in the world to do if it's just going up into space for a short period of time and coming back down, because it's going to get kind of cooked anyway. So the odds are that it'll be like the Falcon 9, like the boosters. They always come back and they always look cooked. So, you know, after the first flight, they don't look all that white anymore anyway. So, you know, if they do paint it, my guess would be white. I don't think the ones that are going to go up into orbit and come back down again, they'll bother with painting. I could be wrong about that. But definitely the ones they put in space, I'm pretty sure they will actually paint those white. Also remember that the paint is heavy. One of the reasons why airplanes have gone away from a lot of paint, a lot of airplanes have gone to just the silver, you know, aluminum skin now, is just because it weighs a lot. And every single kilogram of paint that you've got on the ship is useless. It's just, you can't carry that much more stuff up to orbit or anything like that. So you're wasting payload capacity by painting it. So again, the ones that go into orbit and come back down to Earth again, I think are ones that will probably not get painted. The ones that go into orbit and stay in space, those probably will get painted. So that's my very, very, very long answer to William's question. So, okay, so Jan, I think, Jan Klusterman, still haven't got a Starship model yet. I know, right? Someone has promised. I have a person, oh, I can't remember his name, who wrote me on Gmail and was super kind and said that he was going to get one printed for me. I know I've got STL files and things like that. I just, you know, I'm a professor, and so the end of our semester is coming up, and it's been super, super busy, and so I just haven't had a chance to do this stuff yet. But I'm going to get to it, I promise. If I don't get one from somebody, I will definitely print one myself. So one way or the other, hopefully it will happen. Shawshank, maybe they can paint with electrolysis. That would look cool. Oh, wow. That would also save weight. So yeah, so electrolysis is kind of a deposition process. It basically just puts a very, very fine layer of paint on something. So as opposed to, like, you know, if you get house paint and you get your, you know, your paintbrush and you slap it on, you've got, like, you know, several micrometers worth of paint on there. But electrolysis you can do super, super thin. So like when they make cheap watches that look gold or something that don't actually, well, this is this is bronze, but you know what I mean. So if you put, like, if you get, like, the cheap, like, gold finish on those are usually done with deposition, with electrolysis, where they just put, like, a super thin layer on it, which is why it's so easy to scratch it if you scratch it. So I don't know. Does anybody buy gold watches anymore? I'm not sure, but but if you do, that's how they would probably do it. John Riley says, I've never seen seagulls fly like this, just a few frames per second. Yeah, the seagulls are very good at, like, the choppy flights. So we're getting some interesting issues with all of this stuff, right? Because of course, Mars Embassy is live streaming to me, and then I'm picking up the live stream and rebroadcasting it to you. So there's a lot of lowering of frame rate as we go. Matthew, I'm 3D printing the Starship right now, and I got 2 printers going. The 1/48 scale isn't cheap to print out and takes about a month. Holy mackerel. Whoo! All right, so Matthew is explaining why this would not be such a trivial task. A month to print out with 2 printers? Yeah. Oh, look at that. That seagull is doing it. It's like, it's not even flapping. It's just kind of like moving. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, oh my goodness. Speaking of which, I think I've got this live stream running. Where's my mouse? Yeah, let me cancel this live stream over on my other thing. It's probably wasting bandwidth that I don't need to waste. So, all right. Oh, thank you. All right, apparently 108 people are watching. Wow, that's pretty cool. I appreciate that. So definitely ask me questions as we wait, because nothing terribly interesting is happening just at the moment. All right, William says, when landing, why don't they just alternate the engines as they are landing to give other engines time to cool? Okay, so interesting question, William. I don't think, so I'm assuming you're talking about just the landing burn. And oh gosh, have I frozen again? That sucks. And in a really awkward position too. Ah, goodness. I don't know why this keeps breaking up. I may come back again, because again, I just don't know how to fix the problem without quitting and starting back over again, which is just stupid. All right, I will be back momentarily. Sorry about the breakup. What's really stupid is that my camera is broken, but the live stream's working. I guess I could also just take my me off. There we go. I'll just get rid of me. There, so now I'm not even there anymore. Nope, it didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna stop for just a sec. I'll be right back. Just hold on. It seems to come back to the same stream. Alrighty. Yes. All right, back again. That is super annoying. All right, I'm gonna have to deal with that problem, because that's that's not cool that my main camera keeps blowing out. I do have a whole, like, remote camera thing that I just haven't had a chance to get set up yet, but I'm hoping I do. So let me fix this whole thing with Mars Embassies. It's also very annoying that when it goes back to sort of default, it goes back to the wrong framing of the whole thing. So, all right, so William, all right, I will get to your question, I promise. So just very distracting watching this thing just spin around in circles and not get anywhere. All right, so while it's waiting, anyway, so I assume you're talking about the landing burn. So the landing burn, I don't think they need to worry about cooling the engines, because the engines are they're only running for a few seconds before the landing happens. So, you know, if you think about the fact that they're rated to go, well, the super heavy booster will run for about 2.5 minutes-ish. in terms of like running. So, right, so the Raptor engines are going to be firing full throttle more or less for 2.5 minutes. And then after they get done, the second stage, which is the Starship that we all know and love, that the one that's on the launch pad right now, that's going to probably operate for about 6 minutes or so, with the Raptors going more or less full bore. So that means that they are running for really, really long times. And the landing sequence, if you've seen the other ones land, and if you haven't, you're certainly welcome to go back and look at my live streams. So I think SN10 was the best one. So look for the SN10 live stream, and you can watch that land. But essentially what happens is the engines light up, and then it flips, and then it lands. And it's, I think the whole thing is 20-25 seconds. It's very, very short. So I don't think there's even really time for the engines to heat up all that much before it's done, and then they've stopped. So I think on the landing maneuver, they're probably pretty cool with that. Now, the reason they're looking at lighting all three of them instead of just lighting one or two is for redundancy's sake. So basically what they've done is they've had problems in the past for multiple reasons. It's usually the header tank. They've had autogenous pressurization issues. They have had the COPV when they decided to go with helium instead. They had issues with it, the engines ingesting helium and not getting full thrust. I can explain autogenous pressurization if anybody wants to know. But basically, the problem is that they've got these little baby header tanks inside the rocket. And yes, I actually may attempt to like pull up a web page or something like that to look at it. But inside they're the main fuel tanks that they're going to use to get to orbit. And then there's these little baby fuel tanks that they're using just for the landing. And those have just enough fuel for the landing. And so that's basically what they're there for. But they have to pressurize these somehow. In other words, if you think about taking like a bottle of water, not with fizzy stuff in it, but just a still bottle of water, and you turn it over, it doesn't drain very effectively, right? It kind of goes galump, 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 because the air has to get in behind it, or else it forms a vacuum as the liquid starts coming out. So the pressurization is to push some sort of atmosphere, it could be helium, or it could be methane, or it could be oxygen, in behind the liquid so that the liquid can drain out and get to the engine. So that's what that's there for. That's been the big problem in terms of landing. The rocket engines themselves, well, I think with serial number 11, it actually was one of the Raptor engines that had an issue, let's say. But I think that was because of the fire that was going on as it was launching up in the air. But anyway, the big problem, of course, is that they've been having problems with getting full pressurization on the rocket engines as it's coming down. So the plan right now, I assume they'll do that again today if they ever decide to launch, is to fire all three engines, and then as soon as they discover that they've got enough thrust and everything, they'll turn one off, or they'll turn two off, or something like that. They can definitely land with just one engine, and that has plenty of thrust as long as it's, as long as the engine itself has got a reasonable amount of thrust. So that's what's going on. So I don't think cooling is an issue. I think that the starts and getting enough fuel into it and getting enough, thrust out of these engines is the big problem that they've been having on landing. So, all right. Let's see. Mike says, after the landing legs locked in place by gravity, last test we could see one of them oscillating instead of locking down. Yes, that is correct. I don't know if that is a question, but I mean, that's definitely the correct observation. So again, serial number 11 was a whole different thing. It just blew up in the air. In the fog, no one could even see it. We never knew what happened to it. But serial number 10, for example, they're these little pathetic little landing legs that kind of come out on the sides. So, I mean, clearly they need some better solution than that, but currently the landing legs are these little teeny weeny things that come out on the side. And a couple of them didn't lock, so that they were kind of just left swinging like that. And the landing was too hard, period, but not having the landing legs lock in place was a pretty negative thing too. So anyway, for sure, that was definitely an issue. All right, Saeed, I think. What would you say if one day somebody found a way of creating a warp drive? I would be the first on it, man. Are you kidding me? Make it so, number one. I would be the happiest person on Earth. And by the way, if you're not if you don't watch PBS Space Time, you should definitely watch PBS Spacetimes. PBS Spacetime is awesome. They have the coolest stuff. Matt is amazing, and he just did one on warp drives and how they're getting closer and closer to actually functioning. So you should definitely check that out if you're interested. Let's see if I can. I'm going to switch over to Discord for a second here and see what we got going on Discord. All right, this stream is good. People are telling me I broke my laptop. Everyone's really happy that I've got this lovely new iMac M1 chip or MacBook Pro M1 chip, but I think the problem is I'm just looking at how much I'm pegging my processor, and I think it's because it's not running natively. So OBS, if you're listening, new native version for the M1 would be super cool. All right. All right. Space missions, how do you think they'll do? Oh gosh, I can't say Widdenheimo, something like that. Starship and deep space missions, how do you think they'll do? I think the problem is going to come down again to just fuel storage. I think that's going to be a really, really big problem. So to my Discord people, and since you guys are watching other channels, have you seen anything else going on in terms of like any indication of T-0? I have this feeling that it's going to get scrubbed today, but who knows? They really seem to want to like launch today. I don't know what will happen. So anyway, so yeah, I think it's going to do fine, but I think fuel storage is always going to be an issue for Starship and frankly any ship. I think that the best thing to do is nuclear propulsion. Nuclear-based ion propulsion. I'm not talking about blowing up bombs on the back of the ship. And I'm also talking about only in space. So you'd have to use chemical rockets to get into orbit because they have the thrust, and then you would use nuclear ion propulsion to go between planets. I think that's probably the likely best way to do it, long-term, etc. So, by the by, just to let everybody know, first of all, again, if you're just tuning in, please do check out Mars Embassy. He's the one who's live stream. I'm chopping up. Or rebroadcasting here. But anyway, if you can go to his channel and you can give him a subscribe, that would be super awesome. He would super appreciate it. So thank you. The second thing I was going to say is, if for some reason SN15 does not take off this week, I am flying back down this weekend. So, you know, I don't know whether to hope it does launch or doesn't launch, but if it doesn't launch this week and they're closed down for the weekend, because I don't think they're allowed to launch on weekends, then I'm definitely heading back. So, you know, bless you for your support. I appreciate it. It's great that you're watching, and thank you so much. So, okay, I'm getting from Discord that people are back at the pad. Well, that's unfortunate. So we'll see what happens. William, thanks for answering my questions. Sure. I have a ton of questions and can't figure out how to get the answers. Well, you just have to join me for my live streams or just, you know, send me some questions on Gmail or something. But the live streams are great because usually we're just kind of sitting around waiting for these things to happen anyway. So why not talk to you while we're waiting? So, all right. Saib says a device to intensify and oscillate energy like plasma, etc. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Warp drives are a nutty kind of thing that require like negative energy and stuff. It's really, really weird stuff. So, okay, we're also seeing from, okay, thank you. Yeah, like I said, I can't keep track of all these things at once, but if we're seeing vapor from the tank farm, that would be a good thing. Unless, of course, they're just venting the tank farm and getting rid of it, in which case it wouldn't be so good. George Holtz is live on Twitch. Looks like a super stream Wednesday. Cool. So that's from Randy. So George Holtz, by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, this is from my other world, Tesla, he's working with Comma AI, I guess started Comma AI, and he is an absolute genius, super, super smart guy, and has a really lovely vision about making full self-driving kind of available for everyone instead of owned by any one company. And so I think that's really, really cool. Open source. So awesome stuff. Oh, Aptera Reboot. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. By all means, if you have a question, let me know. So, got to get a drink here. You know, it's funny. I used to watch these live streams by other people, and I would think like, oh, no big deal, but it's pretty intense when you're trying to keep track of all the different things that are happening. I really should start doing the Falcon 9 live streams because they have a very distinct like T-0. So you know exactly when it's going to take off, or if it doesn't take off. So there's none of this sitting around for hours and hours. But thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a wonderful, thank you. It's a privilege to talk to all of you. Okay, docking multiple spaceships. Sorry, I'm catching up on a few of these chats here. It's attached to a large deep space capable station. Imagine Bigelow Olympus. Yes, Widenheimo or something like that, sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right, is saying that the idea for deep space would be to kind of put a whole bunch of these ships together via some sort of docking module. And that would be ideal. The other option, of course, is to just build something in space. So, right, you've got this huge fairing. If you have the Starship actually operational, it's the fairing inside, you have a ton of room. And especially if you use something like Bigelow, where they actually have balloons where they kind of blow up these habitable things. So you could create very, very large I don't know what spacecraft, or it's almost like a space station, but it's traveling through space, right? So it's like the ISS. So imagine all the modules on the ISS connected together, and hopefully one of them would swing around or do something like that. If you saw, what was it called? Was it Castaway or Stowaway? I think it was Stowaway on Netflix. Then, and by the way, Scott Manley was one of the people who was a reference, or, you know, he helped them with the science part of that, which I think is super cool. If anybody wants any help with that stuff, I'll be happy to help your movie out in terms of consulting. But anyway, they did a whole thing where they actually had a tether, and they had, I believe it was the spent booster stage, and then they had the craft itself, and they tied them together via a tether and then spun them to create the gravity. And that's really cool, and that would probably work really, really well. But anyway, so there's a lot of different options, but I think what you're saying about docking multiple modules together is great long term. I have a feeling that the first trip to the moon, it doesn't really matter that much because the moon is a very short distance, but the first trip to Mars is almost definitely going to be like a single ship with a bunch of other ships there. But I could see over time, for sure, in order to make this a more reasonable prospect, you know, to do multiple trips like this and to go longer distances, for sure, I think docking a whole bunch of them together is an ideal way to do that. So, excellent. All right. William again. Sure. Okay. And Saib says, thank you. Sure, you're welcome. William, there was a Raptor trailer on the pad, but didn't look that bad. So, William, hopefully they haven't taken the Raptor off the ship yet. If they've taken it off the Starship, I think we can pretty much call it for today, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that's okay. Alrighty. Shawshank again. First processor was made in 71. Human first set foot on moon in 69 without a proper processing computer. Yes, and here in 2021, Starship is attempting landing with full autonomy. What a timeline we're living in. Yes. And then I'll answer the second one, or what? European Techie, right, there we go. European Techie said, I have a question, will it land? Well, let's start with, will it take off? Who knows if it's actually going to take off today? It seems like SpaceX is just kind of desperate to get this thing up in the air because it's just been sitting there for so long. I mean, me and my wife were there, we were there 2 weeks ago. So it was on the launch stand 2 weeks ago, and it's just been sitting there. So it's just taking up space, and the next iterations can't come. So I think that SpaceX really, really wants to get this thing launched and landed. But I also think they really, really want to land it. So European Techie, I believe, gosh, let's give it some odds. I think if it launches today, or when it launches eventually, it's got an 80% chance of landing and not blowing up after it lands. So not what happened with serial number 10, where it came down and went gadunk and bounced a couple times and then exploded a couple of minutes later. But I think it's got about an 80% chance. I think that they have taken a lot of steps to make it better. SN15 is a substantially overhauled version of the Starship. It doesn't look all that much different from the outside, but apparently everything on the inside is very different. The Raptor engines are much better with this version, so I think they really, really, really want to stick the landing this time around. So I think they're trying their best to make that happen. And back to Shawshank, the first processor was made in 1971, which would have been, I don't think that's quite true, because I'm pretty sure that NASA bought all the, it wasn't a system on a chip, what were they called? Integrated ICs, integrated circuits. NASA at one point, I think in 1965, was responsible for like 80% of all integrated circuit purchases in the world. And when they first started purchasing, they were really expensive. I think they were something like $1,000 an IC, and they needed thousands and thousands of these things. So, right, I mean, $1,000 today. So it was a huge cost, and NASA actually helped drive the cost of ICs down quite a bit. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by the first one in 71, but definitely what they had was super, super primitive. And, you know, if you remember the Apollo missions, the Apollo, gosh, guidance computer, AGC, there we go. Apollo guidance computer, AGC, had rope memory, which was literally the memory that they had was little tiny wires that were woven through little tiny donuts. And that particular memory was fixed in place, and it was called LOL memory, and not laugh out loud, but it was little old lady memory. And that was because little old ladies stitched these things together with the help of machines. It was absolutely outrageous, and it was kind of a one-off. I mean, they never really had to use that again afterwards. So anyway, it's a fascinating story all about that. But anyway, for sure, computers were incredibly unsophisticated at the time, and it's pretty remarkable that we were able to get to the moon like we were, for sure. And we have a lot more going for us today. But you can see just how hard the whole landing aspect of it is, because rockets are pretty reliable taking off nowadays. They get up and they get out of the atmosphere pretty reliably. But who else besides SpaceX has actually successfully landed an orbital class rocket? Nobody. So I know Blue Origin has landed some like up and down rockets, but it's not really in the same league. It's kind of what Starship is doing right now. It's going up and it's coming back down and trying to land. And Starship is trying to do some crazy stuff, and it's very experimental, but that's not the end goal of Starship. The end goal is for it to be in orbit and to come back at thousands of kilometers an hour and smash into the atmosphere and then come back and make a touchdown. That's a whole different ballgame. Oh, misinformation. Lane says, can I go back too? I guess so. You're certainly welcome to come with me. All right. Aptero, speculation on why the delay. Oh my goodness, Aptero. I mean, like I said, we were there 2 bloody weeks ago. It was a long time, and they're still waiting for it. I think they're just trying to be super, super careful about making sure that everything is right before they launch this time. I don't think they want to take any chances with this rocket. I really think that they want to get it back down. Because remember, a lot of the data that they collect is going to be examining the whole thing after it lands. So they get all the telemetry as it goes up and it does its flight and all that stuff. And then, oh, and it looks like my entire video just froze again. So annoying. But anyway, they get telemetry as it goes up and comes back down again, but they don't get the examination of the physical objects afterwards. And so it's really important to see what everything looks like afterwards and get more telemetry after it lands. So that would be good. All right, I'm going to once again stop and restart. So hang on tight. It seems like if I do any big movement is when the whole thing like just decides to crap out on me. Alrighty, I'll be back in just a sec. Hopefully. Alrighty, back again. Hopefully everybody's seeing me. I always have to check my phone, which is like delayed by a few seconds. It's a very weird thing to see me do something and then have to like see it again, delayed by a few seconds. But anyway, let me go and try to fix Mr. Mars Embassy and get him working. So anyway, in the meantime, let's see, what other questions do we have? Josh says, some guy on Twitter, worker said recycling software issue detected, working software issues on the vehicle, expected to resolve within the hour, everything else ready for launch. Thank you, Josh. Fantastic. So according to Josh, we are having issues with software. So it seems a little odd that they would be back out on the pad to do that, but I guess maybe they just decided to go and take a peek at it while they were waiting. So let's see. Recycling, yeah. Okay, so recycling means basically that they started to probably pressurize the vehicle, and then they realized that they couldn't, that something was wrong, and so they have to sort of depressurize it and then start the whole process over again. So yeah, it's going to be a little while, but we will see. Let's see. Again, Widdenheimo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If humanity has only one way to go to the stars, the future will probably remember us through advancements in space exploration. Maybe something like early space era, Sputnik, Apollo, and Shuttle. So yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. I've had people say like, why are you so bent on going to see Starship? I actually live much, much closer to Florida and could go see a Falcon 9 launch kind of like almost on a whim because good gracious, they're launching all the time. And I'm going to for sure. I'm actually waiting for a Falcon Heavy launch because I want to watch the two boosters come back and land in Florida. So I will be going down to Florida for sure. But the Starship is a whole different beast. It really feels like being around, not at the time that like Neil Armstrong was going to the moon, because by then they had things kind of in order, but it's like being around in the early 60s to the mid 60s when they were extremely experimental and they were trying to figure out how to make the F1 engines work properly, why the the Saturn V, why they were having really bad problems with turbulence and vortices inside the fuel flow as it would feed the rockets. All sorts of crazy problems, and nobody knew that they could solve them or not. And so I feel like we're there. It's the same thing. We're at the same spot in terms of where the Starship is versus where the Apollo was in, say, 1963, 64, something like that. So we've got a few years to go for sure before it gets to, like, full bore. But I really believe in SpaceX, and I really believe in their vision, and I believe in becoming a multiplanetary species. I think it's critical for our eventual survival. Even if we survive for thousands of years on Earth, eventually something's going to come along and mess us up. So it's a good idea when we have the technology to do it, to put the effort into trying to become multiplanetary. So anyway, I'm a huge fan, and I just love the idea of what they're doing, and so I want to be part of it. It was amazing to go down and see it. The picture that was actually on the thumbnail of this video, as if you clicked on it, was actually a photograph that I took, or maybe my wife took it. I think it was me. Anyway, one of us took that photo. But we were literally right there looking at it, and it's an amazing, I don't know. It's kind of hard to overstate how impressive it is just to be able to walk up and look at this stuff, just like in person. Just amazing. So yes, Windenheimo, I totally agree. We will be remembered for what we did right here in Boca Chica. Shawshank, it's Schrodinger cat situation question. Will it land? Will it not? We will only know when it will land. And Shawshank, maybe it would be in a superposition of states until somebody observes it landing. So maybe that's the problem, is serial number 11 is still in space. It's still, it's undetermined because we never saw it land and we never saw it not land. So that was the ultimate Schrodinger spaceship. And it's still out there. We don't know if it exists or if it doesn't exist because no one observed it actually land or crash. So there you go. Rob says, do I have time for a nap? You know what, Rob? I might take a nap too. So, oh man, William's message was restricted. I have no idea what that is about. But I think so, because I believe that we need to get some serious venting out of the spacecraft before we're going to have any chance of a launch. So at my guess, I would say we're at least an hour away, probably a good deal more than that. So go for it. Take a nap if you need to. European Checky, yes, welcome back. Thank you. Opsar, I'm so confused. Is it scrubbed? Opsar, I think we're all asking that same question. We don't know. It's apparently, what did I just get from Josh up a little bit above, said that there is a software issue and they're recycling and they're expected to resolve the problem within the hour and everything else is ready for the launch. So that's what I'm getting. Oh, our doggy's come in. Oh, no, she won't come over here. Come here. Come here. You want to be on a live stream? Come here. Guess she's shy. She's a pug. Come here. Come here. Okay, if I ignore her, she'll definitely come over to me. Anyway, I just wanted to, I was like, how can you go wrong having a puppy on TV, right? So there you go. Okay, Aptera Reboot really does feel like we are living through significant historical moment watching on my phone while working. There you go. And that's a crazy thing too, right? Is how I was 4 years old when the Apollo 11 landed on the moon. And the only reason I remember it is that my parents were really annoyed with me and my brother. We were, of course, going like, hey, look at me, hey, look at me. And they're like, get out of the way. But everybody was watching on a TV like yay big, right? Like huddled around, black and white, really crappy pictures. And nowadays we're getting live streams from on board at like reasonable resolutions, and we could watch on our phones. It's absolutely crazy. And soon with Starlink, we'll be able to watch on our phones in the middle of a national park or the middle of Alaska or something, right? So it just keeps getting better and better. So it is a pretty cool time that we're living in, I gotta say. Opsar says, I saw a burnt up structure on the pad. Ooh, I have no idea. Pad is clear. So from Discord, I'm getting the pad is clear again, which I assume means that all the people have left, correct? I'll just ask and we'll get a response here in just a second. So Tom says, are they scheduled for a launch soon? Isn't that when launch, right? We have no idea. We're still shrugging our shoulders. The best information that we have was from a tweet that said there was a software problem and they're kind of recycling and starting back over again. So it is 4 o'clock local time, and I think they've got till 8 o'clock. You know, everything's cleared out till 8 o'clock, so they've still got 4 more hours. So, you know, they can take their time, but I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to get the launch done today if possible. It actually looks like, you know, honestly, the weather is getting a little bit better as we go. So that's a positive. So European Techie, how busy was the hotel? Well, interestingly enough, the hotel, which was the Pearl, which is, so there's let's see if I can, it's hard to do a map like this. Okay, here, we'll take this. Okay, so here's Boca Chica down here near Texas, and then there's the waterway that you're looking at right now, and then there's South Padre Island up here, and the Holiday Inn is here, and the Pearl is just above it. So it's not that far away. The hotel during the week was not that crowded, and actually the rates were pretty decent. They were like, you know, a little over $100 a night. But it was completely packed on the weekend. So Friday and Saturday nights, and I think Thursday night was pretty full too. But the rates definitely, they like doubled those nights. So it got real crowded. And I'm assuming now, you know, we were there and the chance of the launch was pretty small. So it appears that it is really crowded now because, of course, everybody who's coming down for the launch, plus all the people who are going to vacation, are all down there at the same time. So I have a feeling it's pretty packed at the moment. But anyway, it wasn't that crowded when we were there the first time. So that was pretty reasonable. Opsar says pet tax. I don't know where she went. I was hoping she would come back in again and I could pick her up and you could look. So if the Huskies come, because, you know, of course you got the Husky thing up there. If the Huskies come in, they'll be big enough that you can see them just walking behind me. But Bill says, what is the design features of the Raptor engine that makes it so important for being reusable? Wow. Okay. So there's a couple of things going on here. First, the Raptor engine is the first full flow staged engine. In other words, in order to get the fuel into a rocket engine, gosh, I wonder if I can do this. If anybody on Discord wants to toss me a link to a diagram of a full flow stage engine, that would be super cool. That would be very, very awesome if you could do that, because I don't think I can handle it while I'm actually talking. But anyway, so a full flow stage engine is basically, you have to have turbo pumps to feed the fuel into the engine, into the combustion chamber, because gravity's just not enough. It's got to suck it down. It's like an Olympic-sized swimming pool per minute or something like that. It's an insane amount of fuel propellant that has to get fed into it. So basically you have to have turbo pumps running, and the question is, how do you operate those turbo pumps? Well, for the Rocket Lab Electron rocket, they do it with batteries, which is obviously, you know, a pretty reasonable way to go with a small rocket. So they actually use electricity and they spin the turbo pumps. Thank you, stage combustion. All right, let's see if I can snag this. Where am I? Okay. All right. Let's see if I can. Not positive that I can get this. Yeah, I want to open the original. Yes, I want to go over to the website. Okay, here we go. All right, sorry, just give me a second to copy this over. All right. Okay. We're getting into it for real now, man. All right, so let me open up a new window, web browser. I'm going to get there, don't worry. Oops. All right. And there we go. Ah, look at that. It's amazing. Thank you to my Discord people. You guys are awesome. Okay, and let me move this down below my face so I'm at least in the front still. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Okay, nope, still not in front. All right, one more. There we go. Okay. So so this is, there we go. Sorry, let me get rid of this. Okay. Oh, this other one's even better. All right, let me open this original too. Sorry. We're going to get there because this one's actually this is actually a better image. I think this will help. Okay. And so this is kind of, is this the exhaust version, pre-burner, etc.? Yeah, okay. Let me just go in here and swap this out because I like this other one better. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me shrink this just a wee bit so we can see it a little bit better. All right, so turbines. So we've got fuel coming in. We've got methane in this case, and then we've got oxidizer, which is oxygen. And the two of them are being sucked in via these turbines, which are just big fans that are sucking, you know, the liquid through them. And then they're pushing them down into the combustion chamber. The problem comes about with how do you make these things turn. So again, Rocket Lab uses batteries. So that's the simplest way to do it because of course a battery, you know, it's just electricity. You just run it. It's very, very simple. Oh, I'm going to open up that other one too. Thank you. My goodness. These are great, helpful things. All right. So anyway, but the problem for a bigger one is that batteries are just not adequate to make it run. So what you need to do is you need to use some of the fuel to actually create the force to turn these turbines, which is where we're seeing this pre-burner up here, these two pre-burners. And what they are is they're just taking a little bit of the oxidizer and a little bit of the fuel, and they're mixing them and they're burning them like a little mini rocket engine, and they're turning the turbines with that. The problem is, under most circumstances, like the traditional way to do this, you dump the extra fuel overboard afterwards. So if you ever look at a picture of a Saturn V, not a Saturn V, actually you can see it with that too, but a Falcon 9 is a really good example. If you look at the close-ups underneath, there's like a little black smoke that's coming out the side. And that is wasted, that's just extra propellant that's being dumped over the side after it runs those turbines, and that's wasted. So what they want is they want a full flow closed cycle engine instead. And if you give me a second, I will open up that. All right, let's grab this. Okay. Yeah, this is a really nice graphic here. All right. There we go. All right, so a little thank you to Everyday Astronaut. I won't keep this up too long because, you know, it's his property stuff, but there you go. So anyway, open cycle, dumped overboard. Closed cycle, not dumped overboard. Closed cycle, not dumped overboard, but the combustion is not, basically it's being wasted even if it's not being dumped overboard. What you want is this full flow over on the right-hand side. So basically it's running the turbines, and then it's actually being re-ingested into the intake to the combustion chamber. And so basically it's the most efficient thing possible to make that work. So, okay, I'm gonna turn that off. Alrighty. So that's, so it's a little complicated, but it's kind of a crazy thing because you basically have to have it operate like, there's no way to test these engines without testing them all at once. You can't just test like one piece at a time. So that's pretty crazy. So anyway, so that's Bill, back to Bill. That's a huge reason why these engines are so important and such a huge improvement, because they are different. Nobody else has ever flown engines that were full flow closed cycle engines. So that's super cool. The other reason why the design features of the Raptor, okay, and the other reason is reusability. They've designed it from the get-go with reusability in mind. So again, I'll take the Electron, Rocket Lab's Electron, if you've ever seen that fly. There's like, when it flies, especially the second stage, you can see like sparks come shooting out the end of it. And what that is you've got an ablative, in other words, a coating on the inside of the engine bell, which is the expansion nozzle, that just kind of comes off while it's burning. And so it just deteriorates over time and it takes heat away. So that's a really simple solution and it works, but it's not reusable. So the Raptors have been designed to be reusable in the sense that they cool themselves, right? So the engine bells are cooled by running some of the fuel or propellant through it before it gets burned. They also are completely closed cycle, so they're as efficient as possible. And of course, all the materials and the pumps and everything else are not just designed for a single use, they're designed for multiple uses. And you can see with the Merlin engines in the Falcon 9 that they've gotten really good at this. They just landed one for the 9th time, which is crazy, right? So they've figured out how to do this stuff. So I trust that they actually will get this worked out, and these Raptors are going to be very, very highly reusable, which is super, super cool. So anyway, so Dan says they had to hit the reset button on the bottom of the rocket. That's why the people were on the pad. You know, I think if I ever get a moment, I think I'm going to have to like go and find a picture of one of the guys like looking up and put a giant reset button on there. If somebody wants to do that while you're watching this, that'd be really funny. That would be a pretty funny meme. So it's like, why didn't the serial number 15 take off today? And you show the guy like click, turning it off and on again. That's pretty darn funny. Matthew, I had to leave the other streaming because I turned on Johnny Animal. What? Oh my goodness, sorry. Matthew, I actually am a vegetarian, so that's not me, man. It's like, that's just the way it goes. So you never know what you're going to get. I get very, very weird ads, and I find out that my wife gets really different ads than I do if she watches the exact same thing. So I find that fascinating that the YouTube algorithm, it thought you wanted to watch a bacon advertisement. So there you go. I don't know why it thought that, but the algorithm thought you wanted bacon. So Shawshank, in case of Falcon 9's second stage, why is it so uncertain to track where it will fall after deorbit? So Shawshank is asking why with the Falcon 9, which is the current, one that SpaceX is using commercially right now. So they have a first stage, which is the booster. It goes up, it comes back down, and it lands on the barge or sometimes on land. Then they have the second stage, which actually runs for about 6 minutes and pushes it into orbit itself. So the first stage, the booster, the first stage can only get up above into space, but then it falls back down again because it's not going fast enough. Because orbit is all about going sideways really, really, really fast. You have to go up to get out of the atmosphere, but then you have to go sideways really fast to go around the Earth faster than you're falling. So the second stage, when it gets done, it's actually in orbit. So then it releases its payload, and then you've got the second stage just hanging out here, like flying around the Earth. So under most circumstances, I'm pretty sure that SpaceX does actually control the landing. So what they do is they wait till a correct moment in the orbit, and then they do a burn to slow it down. And that slowing down causes it to hit the atmosphere, and that causes the atmosphere interacts with it, and then it falls. Now, I think the one that you were talking about, Shawshank, is a couple of weeks ago, there was a second stage that they lost control of, and it fell back into the atmosphere over Washington and Oregon in the western part of the United States. Normally they do this over the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean out in the middle of nowhere, so nobody sees it and it just falls back in the water, and whatever pieces survive coming down, they just fall in the water. So that's what happens. But I think they lost control, so I think normally they actually do control where this thing's going to land. Okay, they are saying recondenser waiting for tank clouds. Okay, so we're getting evidence that an hour. So it's now 4:15 in Texas, so 5:15-ish. So, all right. So we have plenty of time to answer questions in the meantime. All right, let's see. So I hope that answers your question. I think it was only one time that it actually failed to be controlled to come back down where it was supposed to. Now, apparently China on their oh gosh, the Tianhe, the spacecraft they just launched, the beginning of their space station, the second stage apparently is going to just come falling back into Earth somewhere. So apparently they have not controlled that. So it doesn't seem like being a real good citizen of the globe if you're not controlling where your spacecraft's booster is landing. But anyway, congratulations to them on getting that up into orbit. That's fantastic. It's going to be a very, very large space station after they get all the modules built. So pretty darn cool. All right, a little bit of water. I promise, just water. By the way, merch mug, right? Yeah, if you like it, you can buy it. just look around. You can see where you can purchase it on the merch store. All right, William says, Starship flaps are locked in launch position and recondenser is next. I can't figure out how to send it. I don't know what sending it meant, but anyway, so it appears that things are starting to go again. So whatever that software glitch was, and maybe they did have to hit the reset button. I'm still loving that idea. I really, really want to see a reset button on the bottom of the Starship. All right, Andre, looks like they're starting the first parts of the process to fuel. Excellent. That's so cool. So again, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can bring up Mars Embassy's cell phone coverage. Again, oh, that is definitely not his. All right. So again, you know, obviously I can only use the streams that I have permission to. I will, of course, switch to the SpaceX live stream when they decide to go live, but they usually only do that about 10 or 15 minutes before launch, so it's pretty minimal timing. So anyway, in the meantime, there is, you can see it, it's just really, really far away. It gives you a sense of the scale of it, right? So there you go. Let me just take a quick look. We have, okay, so I'm seeing 45 minutes-ish. Some people are saying that, so we will see how that goes. And let me see, where is my mouse? This is hard. I'm trying to deal with two monitors, so it's a little difficult to see where these guys are. There we go. All right. So anyway, let's see. What else was I going to look at? The weather. Yeah, the weather's definitely looking better. We're definitely getting somewhere, and I think this is clearing up too on our own live stream. Again, if you're just joining us, we definitely thank you to Mars Embassy, who is providing the live footage from the Holiday Inn down at South Padre Island, and you should definitely support him by going and subscribing to his channel. That would be awesome. So we're definitely waiting for tank clouds now, and we've got seagulls flying overhead, so that's pretty cool. There you go. Okay. Oh, European Techie, when will this Chinese station be operational? Really soon. They are sending up one cargo ship in sometime this month, and then in June, I believe, is it 2 or is it 3 taikonauts? Oh, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3. Okay, so now, okay, I'm actually getting SpaceX now has now sent a test flight is expected to launch in 1 hour. So it is now 4:20 in Texas, and so 5:20-ish or so. I know they wanted to launch at 4:20, but what are you going to say? So anyway, I believe the taikonauts, whether it's 2 or 3, I can't remember, but they will be there in June, according to, you know, assuming that that everything goes well. So yeah. All righty. Let's see. Big facts, big stacks. If they dock the Starship to ISS, they would double the interior volume of the ISS. Yes, that gives you a sense of just how big this thing is. It's crazy. It's again, just kind of standing next to it. I think just looking at it when it was just sitting there, it wasn't like, oh, wow, that's incomprehensibly big. I think it will be that when you put it on top of the Super Heavy. But it's... I really don't have a point of comparison. I think Hoppy is the best. So Hoppy is the little guy that's like the little water tower that was the very first one that they flew. That is the size of a water tower. So, and that thing's just a little short squatty thing compared to the size of the Starship itself. So it gives you a sense of just how big it is. And remember that while we humans on Earth are limited to a two-dimensional plane that we're stuck on, right? We're just kind of stuck on the ground. Once you're in space, you have access to all the volume. So it's not just how many like square meters of surface area there are inside, it's how many cubic meters of volume there are inside. And that is a lot of volume. They can fit a lot of cargo, and they can fit a lot of human beings in there. I don't know, Elon Musk hasn't said this too much recently, but he definitely talked about 100 people going to Mars at one point. I think that's a little optimistic at this point, but certainly that gives you a sense of just how ridiculously large this whole getup is. If they're thinking about they can fit 100 people plus all their stuff in there, right? Because you don't have just 100 people. You have all of their life support, you have all of their food, you have all of their water, etc., etc. So it's crazy. And my dog, she keeps coming in and backing out. She knows I'm on. She knows I'm live. Come on, Kona. 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 Nope, not going to come. She'll get there eventually. All righty. Let's see. So, Lane says, if this one lands successfully and doesn't explode, what is the next step? Well, they are going to probably do one more of these. I would imagine SN16 will be a similar flight profile, although they may try to go higher. By the way, they apparently have the FAA permission to go several flights. I think 3? I think 15, 16, 17. I think that's what they've got permission for already, which is great because the FAA has been kind of slow to give them permission. But I think if this one's completely successful, my guess is, now they haven't announced this, but my guess is they would try to do a repeat with 16, or maybe what they do is try to go to 20 kilometers with 16. So they go, you know, twice as high, more or less. And then I think they're going to start to not necessarily try to take it into orbit, but they'll probably try to go to space after that. So, you know, again, assuming all this stuff is really successful and they nail it, that they will try to get it up above 100 kilometers where effectively it's in space and there's not really very much atmosphere, and then take it all the way back down and let it do the belly flop maneuver from space so that they can really heat up those tiles and they can see what's going to happen to this thing. And the nice part about Boca Chica is it's right on the water. So probably when they launch it, I think already when they launch these, they take them out over the water, you know, because it's just, gosh, I mean, I think the launch pad is maybe 200 meters off the beach. It's very, very close. So I think they launch it and they take it over the ocean, because that way if it falls back down again, it just falls in the water. It's not falling on land. And then as it comes down and belly flops, it goes back towards land again. So my guess would be if they're trying to get it up above 100 kilometers, they will launch it. They'll bring it out over the ocean a ways. They'll let it fall. And as it gets close to the landing pad, then they'll redirect it. But they've got to do all of that work. I know that they want to try to put one in orbit relatively soon, but I think they want to keep refining the process of landing it and everything. I could be wrong, though. I mean, they could just actually skip. They could do, I expect at least SN16 is going to do something relatively low altitude, like between 10 and 20 kilometers. But if 15 and 16 succeed, I could see them just going like, screw it, let's go ahead and try to launch it, like into orbit. And they won't expect to recover it. I think the idea would be just to see how the Raptor engines work. I'm not positive that they can get a Starship to orbit without the Super Heavy, however. So, and that, by the way, is going to be testing reasonably soon. I mean, they're building the booster number 2 in the high bay right now. So, but that is a lot of Raptor engines. So I think they want to be pretty darn, you know, they want to make sure that they get that back and don't crash it, because they don't want to lose like 20 Raptor engines or something. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know if Starship can make it to orbit by itself, just the top half. If it can, they may very well try to do that and just try to like just boost it and see what happens, and then just kind of like bring it back into the atmosphere someplace over the ocean and see if they can soft land it. So they would test the whole thing, but they wouldn't really try to bring it back to Boca Chica, or, you know, I don't know, maybe if it could make it through an entire orbit, they could try to bring it back to Boca Chica and see, you know, how that works. So, oh, I've got a question on Discord, which is, if they land it successfully, do you think they'll try to refly serial number 15? That actually could happen. Sorry, I was not thinking about that, but they could just attempt to launch it like serial number 15, like 2 or 3 times really fast. And that way they wouldn't have to waste serial number 16 doing the low altitude flights. And they would also get a ton more data about the heat shields and the tiles and how well they're sticking on the body. And they get more information on the Raptors about whether they have to refurbish them or whether they can just fly them again, and about the tanks, etc., etc. So that actually could be a really strong possibility, is that they would refly serial number 15, you know, pretty quickly. They might just go like up and down and be like, okay, let's get a couple days to like fix it and stuff and then try again. So yeah, I mean, that could be interesting too. I guess they could launch it today and then they could say we're going to launch it again on Monday or something, and I would be like, oh, I'll go back down and see the second launch. So that would be pretty cool too. So anyway, yeah, good suggestion. That is quite possible. All right. Shawshank, you never get to feel the size of a rocket unless you're really below it. Yes, that is true. And again, I wasn't next to it, and the scale was off, because Hoppy, which was the little water tower thing, which was right next to the road, looked really, really big. And the Starship itself didn't look that big, but that was just because it was further away from us. But when we looked at the people on it, of course, the people are like itty bitty. So, you know, so it really would, it would be, maybe someday it would be lovely. Maybe if like serial number 15 does fantastically and they retire it, maybe they'll bring it back to the construction area, or they'll make a little like playground out of it or something like that, where kids can like run around, or big kids can run around. But that would be really cool. Even if they strip the engines out and everything, it'd be just amazing to be able to walk underneath it and kind of get a real sense of just how big this thing is. So that would be super cool. I hope they do that. Like, you know, I definitely would love to get a sense of really how big this thing is. All right, big facts. Probably the same test again with more heat shields while they build the launch tower. Yes, indeed. So big facts. I do think, whether it's with the serial number 15 or with 16 or something, I do think they're going to try to repeat this a couple of times. And the one thing they might do is they might ask the FAA for permission to go higher so that they can test it out, right? So they want to see how it's going to operate in thinner atmosphere, and 20 kilometers is a lot thinner than 10. So they might want to, because 10K is about 8,000 meters, 8,900. So not that much above where Mount Everest is. So there's still a reasonable amount of oxygen or atmosphere there. But when you get up to 20, there's very, very little. So I would see SpaceX wanting to launch it to a higher altitude if they can. But for sure, I could see them definitely checking it out and seeing if they were if they could bring it up a little bit higher than before. So, all right. William is saying, how can I become a Starship captain? You better start now. I have a feeling the competition's going to be rough. I have a feeling all the astronauts, like at NASA and everything, are always like, I want to be the Starship captain. So there you go. Or apparently, you can just become a multi-billionaire like MZ, and you can, rent your own Starship for a week and go to the moon. So I guess that's the other way to do it, is make a whole lot of money, and then you can do what you want to do. So that is another way. This is a private company and money talks. So if you have enough money, you could probably do whatever you want. All right. Big facts. Yes. Yes, Big Facts is saying they're going full risk mode with the Super Heavy booster, because it's true. So the Super Heavy, I don't know how many engines they're planning on putting on it now. At one time it was 27, then I think it might be 25. Anyway, but it's a lot. It's a lot of Raptor engines. And the Starship, for comparison, right now is only using 3. Eventually it's going to have 6, because it's going to have vacuum engines as well, which will operate out of the Earth's atmosphere. But right now they only have 3 engines. So, I mean, they're losing. It's bad if they crash it and it blows up, but it's not that bad. But just imagine if you blew up 27 of those engines, and then if you put the Starship on top with another 6, that's 33 engines. So, ouch, that would be really painful just from the Raptor end of things. So I have a feeling the booster they're going to be really careful with. So they are building the launch tower, which is this giant grid structure alongside. All right, I just got an alert from the angry astronaut that he's actually gone to Livestream now. He was a little more conservative than me, I guess. So how's that? But anyway, by the way, if you haven't followed Angry Astronaut, I don't usually say to follow other people on here, except for Mars Embassy. You should follow him because he's being super nice. But Angry Astronaut, I think he's amazing. I absolutely adore him, and I can't wait to meet the guy. I think that the two of us are going to have a blast if we get a beer together. So if anybody knows AA Angry Astronaut, definitely put him in touch with me, because I definitely want to get a beer with him. I'll buy him the first round. Anyway, I think he'd be a hoot to talk to. He's pretty amazing. So he's like, I don't know, he's like the slightly angrier version of me that just cares about space. But he actually knows a lot more about space than I do. So real smart guy. Anyway, so cool. So the Super Heavy is going to be really, really risky to do, because the Super Heavy it's got a lot of engines. It's really big. The launch tower that they're building now, I mean, the one they've got the serial number 15 on is just kind of like a little disc. And so far they haven't blown it up. It hasn't blown up on the launch pad, so thank goodness for that. But it's just a pretty small thing, and they could rebuild it relatively quickly if they need to. Whereas the booster, that thing is going to be very pricey. It's a whole gridded structure. It's going to have a crane on top to put the Starship on, the top part on to the bottom part. It's going to be very, very big, very expensive. At this point, I think they still don't have flame trenches, which I find bizarre, because I don't know where all the flame is going to go. I know they're going to use water deluge to try to dampen it out, but it just seems like that's just too much thrust for them to get rid of without a flame trench. And by the way, from our visit to Starbase, to Boca Chica, to the launch facilities, the launch pad itself is nuts. So if you see, the Starship itself is over here, and over here are those fuel tanks, which are hanging out. Right in between them is the landing pad. So it's pretty nuts, because it's really, really in the middle of everything. I thought they would have built the landing pad like far away. But I guess the idea was that if it landed and didn't blow up, it would allow them to very, very quickly just move it right back onto the launch pad. But I don't know. We'll see with the Super Heavy what they decide to do. I could see them potentially, I don't know. It's going to be a simpler landing profile. That's the one advantage that they have, is that the booster is not doing this crazy belly flop and then flipping around and everything. It's going up, and obviously it'll be launching something, but at the first it'll go up and it's going to come straight back down just like a dart, and it's going to have big old grid fins. So it's going to look just like the Falcon 9 booster, except way, way, way bigger. So anyway, they've studied that and they have a good idea of how all of that works. So I think that they're going to have less trouble with the booster than they're having with Starship, because it's a whole new maneuver having to do the flip and all of that stuff. So anyway, that's my prediction, but it is really, really risky. If they blow up something, especially if it blows up on the launch pad, that is a lot of money and time they've just wasted. So I'm sure they don't want to do that. So there you go. Daryl Davies, is AI a big part of SpaceX rockets? Well, yes and no. They definitely run, what's that called? Convex optimization algorithms. So they definitely use AI to figure out the best way to land these things. They also use a ton of simulations, and I think that AI has a part to play in building those simulators. So they're trying to like build the most realistic simulator they can. In fact, I recall that Elon Musk said that their simulators are so good that they have not had to make changes to the actual, oh my goodness, look at that boat. That is a really big boat coming between, right? I mean, I guess that part of the waterway is still clear. That's crazy. But anyway, they have such good simulations that they actually don't need to do a lot of tweaking to the craft after they launch them, because they're behaving just like the simulations say. And that's really hard to do because simulations are very complicated. So so I don't know what the heck that is, but oh, I think he's actually panning. I think that's what he's doing. But that is crazy. Mars Embassy, if you're listening to this, that is hysterical that you've got the Concordia or the P-Max zipping along there. So crazy. What a world. It's a vacation place, and it's also a really huge harbor, and it's also now a spaceport. So it's getting busy down there in South Texas. Anyway, I hope that answers some of that, right? I mean, it is a big part of it, but it's not quite like the full self-driving AI, because the full self-driving has so many variables, whereas launching and landing a spacecraft is actually a reasonably contained problem. Now, Daryl and anybody else who's interested, I did 2 videos on how SpaceX lands their Falcon 9s. So by all means, definitely go look in my channel. It was a few months ago. So I think if you do like Dr. Know-It-All, how does SpaceX land their boosters or something like that, if you just type that in, it should actually find it. So yeah, so take a look back. There's a 2-parter, and hopefully that will explain it in much, much more excruciating detail than I'm doing right now. So anyway, Ivan says Dogecoin to the moon. I'm so bummed I don't own any Dogecoin. So I don't know why I didn't. You know, it would have cost like $20 to buy it at one point and get 1,000 shares, or more than that even. So I'm kind of bummed I don't have any. I'm stupid, but I'm glad for everybody else. And hopefully after Saturday Night Live, when Elon Musk talks up Dogecoin, because he almost definitely will, hopefully it will take a huge bump and you guys will all get rich. There you go. All right. Big Facts Deck says, yeah, no, but it's a big part of Tesla. So again, I think it's a little part of SpaceX, but I think it's way, way bigger part of Tesla. And don't forget, AI can be used in other things in the background too, because factories, engine design, even the design of the ship itself, all of those things, AI can be helpful to try to come up with a whole bunch of different designs and see what will actually work. And it's rapid prototyping essentially. So it can be used in that. It's just not nearly as big of a part of the world of SpaceX as it is for the world of Tesla. So yeah. William says, oh, Starship Captain. Yeah, William says, I wish. Yeah, I'll be joining you, man. If you can figure out how to either become super rich or get to be an astronaut that can fly, then by all means invite me along. I will be happy to be your XO, right? Your number 1. So I'll be happy to be that guy. All right. Apparently Mars Embassy is in love with this boat. The Stena bulk or Italia. What is that? Iberia. Oh gosh, Iterius. Can't quite read it. Anyway, he's clearly quite taken by this ship, which is pretty darn funny. I mean, there's a Coast Guard. It looks like there's a Coast Guard ship that's kind of guiding it. So it seems a little bit odd that they're letting it take off. Go by at this time of day. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not responsible for it. So there you go. All right. So just kind of peeking around. 20, 25 minutes ish. So apparently we're getting places. Fingers crossed. I don't know. Wow. Harrison says hi. Hello. Oh wow. All right, let's see if I can handle this one. Farilanga Ranga says, Tolong aku nyasar mak. I'll say that back to you. I hope it's a really nice thing. I'd feel really bad if that's like some sort of, I'm assuming that's a greeting. Is that what's that called? Tagalong? Is that right? All right, the Filipino. Is that right? Maybe, or I don't know. It's really hard when you can't see the original language and you're just getting a transliteration. But anyway, hello to you as well, for sure. So let's see. William, why don't they build a launch pad in a higher place, like a really high altitude, so it'll be easier to launch? Okay, that is a fantastic question and a really good idea. I have actually written a science fiction television series plot, and I won't go into too much detail because I would love to sell it someday. But one of the things that they do is they actually have a launch ramp, and so they actually have kind of a rail gun. Now I'm not using a mountain. What I'm doing is let's see if I can get this right. It's something like a 30-degree angle that goes like a kilometer up, and it uses electromagnetic push, right? So sort of like the Large Hadron Collider or whatever. It just gives this thing a really fast pushes via electromagnetic railgun and gets it going super fast and gets it a couple of kilometers into the air first. Going up a mountainside would be even better. But we've got tank clouds according to Discord. That is fantastic. So yeah, like I said, I think we might be as close as 20 to 30 minutes away. So that's great news. But anyway, so building on a mountain would be lovely. Couple of problems. Number one, mountain environments are really, really harsh. They get really bad weather, et cetera, et cetera. Also super hard to build because you need to build your not just the launch pad, but you somehow have to get everything up there. So the ships, the fuel, the building facilities, the launch facilities, and mountaintops are not the easiest places in the world to get that stuff to. Now, you could say like, oh, but what about Mauna Kea in Hawaii, which is actually great. That's about almost 4,000 meters or so, something like that, 14,000 feet. I think it's 13,768 feet, if I'm remembering correct. No, that's the Grand Teton. 13 something. Anyway, it's about 4,000 meters above the ocean. But then you get the problem of course, the native Hawaiians are really pissed off about the telescopes that are up there already. They would not be happy at all about rocket ships taking off back and forth out of there. So, I mean, I think if you were looking at trying to launch rockets, Hawaii is actually the ideal place because it's very, very far south. So you get a really big push, and that mountain is very accessible. It's got a road that goes right up to it. And it's really high altitude. It's a very high altitude thing. And it also has really, really clear atmosphere. But of course, you've got telescopes that are already there, and they like to be able to see their nice clear night sky, and they don't want rocket ships taking off in front of them. And more importantly, you've got native Hawaiians who are really pissed off about the fact that a sacred mountain is being used for telescopes. So they would be super displeased, like even more displeased if that happened around there. I don't know. I'm trying to think, like the Canary Islands are pretty cool too, but you would have to launch right over Africa, and that would not be ideal. And then if you thought about like Mount Everest, right, obviously that would be impossible to get things up to. If you thought about something like the Grand Teton, that's in the middle of a national park. So, and it would have to take off over Wyoming. So, and it's also at a fairly northern latitude. So those things don't work out the greatest. So I just think it sounds lovely on paper, but the only mountain I can think of would be like Mauna Kea in Hawaii, and that's already taken and it's already under a lot of stress anyway. So I don't think it's going to happen. It would work. It would be fantastic. It's just unlikely to ever happen due to many, many other reasons, besides just the efficacy of the rockets launching, which could definitely work. So Harrison, has it launched yet? No, Harrison, you are plenty of time. I think 20 minutes-ish is my guess. And Bjorn, hi Bjorn. Good evening from Norway. Good evening to you. It's getting pretty late there. It's got to be, is it midnight or is it 12:40 or is it, or sorry, 0:40 or is it 1:40 in Norway? It's getting very, very late. So hopefully you can stay up with us and you can catch the launch. Clap our fingers. Or what are we supposed to do? Like, is it for Tinkerbell? We're supposed to like clap and make Tinkerbell come back to life. There we go. So we'll do that for the Starship serial number 15. Luke, hey, if you have the chance to go to Mars and also back, would you? Thank you, Luke. I would definitely go if I could come back. I thank you for putting in, you know, the return journey as being part of it. I would absolutely do that. I mean, I don't think anything's happened with my application, but I actually, in the last batch of NASA astronauts, applied to become an astronaut. So if you're working for NASA and you're watching this, hey guys, I'm available. But anyway, I would absolutely go to Mars and come back. I would do anything in space, literally anything. I mean, if you wanted just, if the new Shepard was like $10,000 to go up, you know, like something that I could afford, I would go up in the new Shepard just to go into space for a minute. That's just the one that goes like bloop, bloop, and comes back down. If I could, I signed up for the Inspiration 4 mission. I signed up for the Dear Moon mission. I didn't get either one of those, but I would have absolutely gone on either of those. If a Mars mission comes up, I would go, that was available. You know, if I can go to space, I will go to space. I apparently don't have a very good sense of self-preservation because it's probably not the best idea in the world, but I don't know. I'd rather give it a shot. Why not? So yes. So thank you for the question, but I would definitely do it if I could. Would you? That's the question, Luke. How about you? Would you go? Let's see. Harrison. William says, what about the weak spots in Earth's magnetic field? Oh, so William, what is that in regard to? Are you talking about being in space and having those weak magnetic field things? Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a problem. Of course, going to the moon is way worse than that. So, or to Mars would be way worse. But you got to remember, I'm in my 50s now. So my body's like, so, you know, my cells are not dividing that fast anymore. And the odds of me getting cancer from going into space in the time remaining that I have in my life are way, way lower. If I was 25 years old, I would be much, much more hesitant because I would still be in the prime of life. My cells would be dividing rapidly. And so I would be more reticent to go. I probably still would go, but I'd have to think about that a lot more. But older people going to space is actually a really, really good idea. It's not just me being selfish. It's actually a really good idea because older people do not are not as susceptible to getting cancer from those kinds of sources, especially given the fact that you're only going to live like another 30 years or something along those lines. So anyway, you know, it's all statistics, it's all odds. You take in a chance and who knows what's going to happen. One bad cosmic ray zipping through you can cause a serious problem. But I think the odds are pretty low for an older person to get cancer, especially in orbit around the Earth. So I think that, you know, you're increasing your odds to some extent, but not a lot. I mean, how many astronauts do you know of that have gotten bad cancer? Really not very many. And a lot of astronauts have spent like 6 months to a year in space. So I don't think you're increasing your odds all that much. I mean, certainly smoking and eating bad food and stuff is way worse for you than going into space for a while and eating healthy. So okay, so Josh, or let me see, William, at the poles it's weaker and it seems like it'd be easier to launch. Oh. So William, different question than I thought you were talking about. So you're talking about the weaker magnetic field parts of different parts of the Earth. That really doesn't matter for launching. It matters for human beings and it matters for the radiation proofing that you have to do to satellites, but it doesn't really make any difference to launching. What really matters is how far south you are. So notice that everything that launches on the Earth launches to the east, and that's because the Earth is rotating to the east. So imagine, well, it's like you have a pitcher, right? So you got like a baseball pitcher, he's got a ball and he throws it. So the Earth is throwing you at a very, very high rate of speed. So as you take off, you're already going that way fast. Now they do have launches that go over the North Pole from like Vandenberg, but they have to use a lot more fuel to get into space because they don't have that boost. So taking off from the equator, really good. Taking off from the North Pole, really bad. Plus the fact the North Pole, of course, is really far away from everything, and getting stuff there is not so good. So the magnetic field doesn't matter too much in terms of how all that's working, but it does matter how far south you are. Let me just take another quick check here. I want to take a look at the SpaceX live stream and see what's going on here. Okay, 15 minutes-ish. Let me pull up SpaceX here for a quick second before I look at your other questions. And let's see, Starship. Oh, SN15 flight, watch now. Oh, I think we got a live stream. I think we got a view. All right. Let me get this thing fired up, and okay, we've got a countdown at 33 minutes. Okay. On Discord, I've got it needs more screens. Let me turn on SpaceX here. Oh, look at that. All right, let me see. Where's my SpaceX feed? So I can't hear SpaceX. Let me put on these headphones quick. I'm gonna try to put it on in the background and not distract myself too much, but all right. Okay. 1 second here. I'm trying to see. I don't think the SpaceX feed. Okay, so clearly the SpaceX feed is not live yet. It's counting down. I believe the 32 minutes is actually until they go live. That would be my guess, because I think that's how the live streams work. When they actually go live, I'll make this a little bit bigger. But anyway, at least we've got a nice countdown now. Hey, what size and ratio is that? Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I at a guess here, I'm trying to figure this out, but I'm guessing that the live stream will start at 6:20. I guess that's my time. So yes, the live stream itself is going to start in 32 minutes. And then usually they start the countdown somewhere between 12 and 15 minutes before launch. So that is my guess, is that they're probably 45 to 50 minutes from launching. So let me pull that off again. So there we go. Back to a live view. It's not stunning live view, but there you go. But at least you got something. So by the way, in the background, the tall sort of thing that you see is, let me make sure that that's right. That actually might be, I believe that's actually the, gosh, it's so hard to tell. I need the zoom in. Yeah, I think that's the Starship there. So, sorry, the one sort of tall thing that's sitting up, and I think the lower thing is Hoppy, the hopper. So anyway, at least we finally have some sort of a sense of when this is actually going to happen. Fan-friggin-tastic. All right, Josh has a question. Random, but I've new noticed Cyberlander. They're actually planning to have 3 chairs that will take up the entire width of the Cyberlander. Oh, Josh. Okay, so interesting. Josh, what is your source? I'm curious, Josh. Do you know the folks? I did an interview with the guys who actually founded it, who are part of Stream It. And by the way, super cool interview if you're interested in the Cyberlander, which by the way, you've got the Cybertruck that's coming out, right? That's going to be built in Texas, the big pickup truck that looks like a polygon. And then in the back of it, they're going to put a camper that actually sinks down underneath. And so the back end of the pickup truck covers it up. So you can't even see it. But when you get to your destination, it just goes and it just raises up. So it's like a pop-up camper, but like a super high-tech one. So I absolutely would love to get one of those. I think that would be fantastic for car camping and stuff. It'll be amazing. But anyway, so in the rendered versions, they only have 2 chairs, and the chairs convert into beds. And so like, and each one is more or less 1 human width. So it's a pretty narrow bed with just 2 chairs. And so Josh is saying that there are going to be 3 chairs instead of 2 chairs, which is pretty cool if they do that. I assume that would be optional too, because the chairs are completely movable. Like you can take them out and put them outside and put them back in. So if you only wanted 2 chairs or even 1 chair in the camper, you could just take them out and just leave them at home. But anyway, it'd be really, really nice for it to be like a queen size mattress, nice and big for that. So that's really cool. Okay. Oh, okay. So Lance King, who's the CEO of Stream It, and also I guess the CEO of Cyberlander. Anyway, he said it through email, so that's super cool. So, I mean, talk about straight from the horse's mouth. That's the guy who would know if anybody would. So if you're watching that Cyberlander interview, and I do have to admit, I looked at the bed and I was like, well, you know, certainly good for a single person, but like 2 people, it's going to be a little tight there. But anyway, that's super cool that there'll be 3 of them. So very flexible, very, very cool. So Aptera reboot, butterflies. I like the butterflies. They're very pretty. Thank you. Okay, so William. All right, Luke. Luke says, so this is the go to Mars question. I would definitely go if there was a return trip. Have you watched Stowaway? Hopefully it would go better than that. Yeah. Actually, you must have joined us a little after I talked about it, because I actually talked about Stowaway. People were asking about building a multi-module spacecraft to go to Mars. And I said, well, you should watch Stowaway, because they have a really, really cool spacecraft. It's tethered. You've got the booster, the spent booster, and the habitation module, and they're connected by cables, and they spin around each other to create artificial gravity. And that's a big, big part of the plot that goes on. I liked Stowaway up until the end. I thought the end was a little forced. I mean, I was like, okay. Yeah. So anyway, I know what they were going for, but I felt like there could have been a more scientifically viable way of saying that. Anyway, so whatever. Anyway, but I did enjoy it. It was a really good movie. Scott Manley was a consultant on it, so super cool. And I was also saying, if anybody wants me to be a consultant on their movie, I'll be happy to do that. That'd be pretty neat. Okay, so Josh says, nobody hear me. I don't know. I hear you, Josh. Josh Evans, that is, not Quintilla. William, every time we slingshot around the Earth, we still steal some of the gravity. One day it will slow the Earth enough to decay the orbit of Earth. Oh, gosh. Yeah, so William, that's a different way of asking the question, like, what if everybody on Earth started running in the same direction? You know, like if we all said face due east and at, 6 o'clock our time, start running as fast as you can, could we push the Earth back and slow it down? Yes. I mean, okay. So technically, yes, you would. And technically, each one of these does slow it down. But there are so many other factors. Number one, the Earth is really, really, really big. So it weighs a lot. And so it's not going to notice it that much. But also just think about the tides. You've got all the tides going on. You've got the moon. You've got the sun. You've got asteroids floating around. You got Jupiter out there. All these things are tugging on the Earth and changing, altering the way that the Earth is behaving and the gravitational pull, etc. So I don't think it would take it would take a significant, you'd have to launch a significant portion of the mass of the Earth. Like you'd have to launch like 1% of the mass of the Earth in the same direction to actually have any kind of effect, I would think. So, and that's way more than human beings are ever going to be able to do. So I don't know. At least until we build a Dyson sphere around the sun and harvest all the energy. But that's a whole different thing. We're on to Kardashev level 2 or whatever it is at that point. So anyway, so yeah, I don't think it's going to affect it that much. Plus the fact there's always things going the opposite direction too, even if it's not a rocket, something, even a car driving the other direction will have some sort of counteracting force. So I don't think it would, but that's a really interesting thought experiment to think like how much would it actually alter the rotation of the Earth. And you could do the calculation if you wanted to, because all you'd have to do is figure out the mass of the Earth, the moment arm of the Earth, the mass of the rocket, sort of like how much it's pushing against the Earth when it starts, etc. So yeah, interesting question. So Aptera Robot Reboot says, rocket is venting, woohoo! And Bubby's 2002 says, hello from St. John's, Newfoundland. Oh, that's an amazing place. Wow. Man, I went there when I was an infant. So I have not been back as a conscious adult, but I love how it looks. Absolutely beautiful looking place. So welcome. Come join us. Let's take a quick look at what SpaceX says their timing is. So again, 25 minutes till live stream, and then I would expect about 12 to 15 minutes after they go live before it actually launches, or doesn't. Anyway. Oh, okay, sorry. On Discord, they're discussing monitors. So there you go. Oh, and Neil says, hello from Australia. Just joined in. What's the state of play? We have 24 minutes before SpaceX goes live. This is Mars Embassy's live stream, and we are taking it with his permission. So again, when you get a moment, please go to Mars Embassy on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. He could definitely use those. That would be wonderful. He's a lovely human being. Anyway, and I can't wait till I get back down to Boca Chica so I can buy him a beer for doing all this. So Mars Embassy, you're going to get your beverage of choice, or a couple of them, for being so kind as to share this with us all. So anyway, what you're seeing is from the Holiday Inn on South Padre Island, which is across a channel from where the SpaceX launch facilities are, and it's actually starting to clear up, which is awesome. And you can start to see the Starship is getting a little bit more and more clear. So that's super fantastic. So anyway, that's great. All right, hold on. Let me. I just realized I have like a little fan that blows, and I had it on a sleep timer for 2 hours, and I just realized that we've been live streaming for 2 hours. So anybody watching the replay, if you want to get part of the conversation, that's awesome. But I have a feeling you'll probably end up skipping ahead till we get there. But anyway, so okay. So yes, the state of play is we got 20-ish minutes before the live stream goes, the SpaceX live stream goes live, and then I would expect somewhere around 15 minutes more before the launch itself. So there we are. And welcome from Australia. All right, Rob. Hey, Doc, what was the cause of the Starship that exploded in the fog? Okay, so all I've got for you there. So Rob asked about the Starship that exploded in the fog, which was its own thing for sure. Let me just fix something over here. There we go. So the Starship that exploded in the fog, the best that we know is that Elon Musk tweeted that there was a fire on the way up on one of the Raptor engines, and you could see it burning. And I think he said the avionics, yeah, it messed up the avionics of that Raptor engine, which basically means the turbo pump or something in there, right? See, and fires are destructive, so it burned something. And when it restarted, that Raptor engine didn't restart, it just went. He said hard restart, but let's be honest, it went. It was a rapid, unscheduled disassembly or an explosion. So anyway, so that's what happened with SN11, and I'm sure, according to Elon Musk, I think he said they're fixing it 6 ways to Sunday. So I would highly not expect it to happen with serial number 15. Serial number 15 might have plenty of other problems go wrong with it, but I really don't think it's going to be that problem again. So there you go. Bubsy says, if you want to escape COVID, come here. Bubsy, my #1 item on my bucket list is to go to Australia. And let me tell you how COVID messed that up. I of course, do AI research, and I had a paper for September of 2020 to do a research paper in Sydney and present it. And I was all excited because I was like, this is fantastic. Best thing ever. I'm going to go to Sydney. I'm going to knock that off my bucket list. I'm going to go see Australia. I'll stay an extra week after the conference and just see some kangaroos and koalas, whatever. So anyway, but COVID, of course, messed that up entirely. Josh, thank you for the super chat. You're so awesome. Thank you so much. That is really wonderful. But anyway, so Bubsy, yes, absolutely. Sorry, not Bubsy. It is. Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about Newfoundland. Yes, that makes more sense because I thought Australia was kind of locked down right now. So yes, come to Newfoundland. I absolutely would love to come to Newfoundland. In fact, actually, I should probably wait until July when it is unbearable in Georgia. It's so hot here. So maybe I'll make plans to come to Newfoundland in July. I've been vaccinated, so should be safe to travel, should be safe to be around, etc. So anyway, but yeah, but back to the Australia thing. I'm super bummed because I was going to knock that off my bucket list. I have 2 things that are the top of my bucket list. One is jumping out of an airplane with a parachute, and the other one is going to Australia. And so one of those 2 things is going to happen this year. I think it's just going to be jumping out of the airplane, but hopefully next year then will be Australia. So, all right. But anyway, in the meantime, maybe I'll go to Newfoundland. That'll be awesome. So there you go. Rob says, do you think we'll see an intentional detonation of a Starship during a test flight? Ooh. Oh, and by the way, hello, Hassan. I think, are you the Hassan from Twitter? So if you are, you're the best. I appreciate all of your positivity, and thank you for joining us. That's super cool. But so Rob, an intentional detonation of a Starship. I don't think so. I think maybe the very first one, if it had gone horribly wrong, they would have done it. And obviously, if it gets up to full altitude and it starts going like spinning around in circles or does something super bizarre, of course they will detonate that. But that's not really I mean, it's intentional in the sense that the guy has to push the button that detonates it, but I don't really foresee them planning to blow up a Starship. They're very expensive to build, even though they're prototypes. So love the seagulls, by the way. That's really cool. Let us take a quick check back on SpaceX. We are at 1855. All right. So we're getting there, getting there. Hassan, yes. All right. Super cool. I'm so glad you've transferred social media platforms or whatever. I know you watch me anyway, but anyway. It's nice to have you live. If you have any questions, by all means, ask. Bubsy says, yes, it's cool there. In fact, it's probably, man, I bet it's probably in the tens of degrees right now, centigrade. So I have a feeling it's rather on the chilly side there at the moment. So, oh my goodness. Oh, wow. Let's see if I can pronounce this name properly. DrKnowItAllKnows. Hope I got that somewhat close. Greetings from Slovakia. Do you know which important person from Tesla is coming from my country? Well, I mean, Nikola Tesla is coming from your... I mean, the guy who started it all, Nikola Tesla, is from your country. So I guess that would be it. I think Andrei Karpathy is also from... Is it Slovakia? Or it's somewhere near... It's somewhere in the Eastern European range. So I'm guessing it's Slovakia, but anyway... So, or was Nikola Tesla, was he Serbian? Oh my goodness. Anyway, in that area. So hopefully I got your name pronunciation right, and hopefully, well, the seagulls are super awesome. I love, it's almost like they're just playing around for the camera. Oh, here's Lily. Okay, I knew I'd get a husky before the day was out. Come here, Lily. Come here, baby. Come here. Oh, see, this is why I have, it's not a home without a husky, because I got huskies. And you know what time it is? Of course it is, because it's 6 o'clock my time, and they want to go for their WALK, and I'm not going to say that word, because otherwise they will have a complete conniption fit. Yeah, we'll get the lunch, Lily. Then we're going to go out. We'll do that thing later. Fortunately, it's light till, I think, 8 o'clock tonight, so we got a couple hours before it gets dark, so we'll be okay. Anyway, Lily, hey. And now she's in the garbage can. They're always wonderful until they turn into scavengers, so. All right. So, Ludek, you got to tell me if I was right in guessing that. Either one of those. Rob, Markovich, Doc, I'm in for safety measures. Is there an escape capsule that would inject it in case of something? Okay. So yes. So Starship, there are flight termination systems on the Starship, which is basically a little, I think there's 2 or 3 of them. It's a little box with a radio controller on it, and if the person at the SpaceX flight safety thing pushes the button, those boxes have shaped charges that blow up towards the inside of the craft. And I think they're situated right between the oxygen and methane vessels. So anyway, they'll rupture the whole thing, it will explode, and it will rain down debris everywhere, but that's much better than like if the thing got out of control and started heading for South Padre Island. God forbid. You know, you don't want this crashing into a hotel. That would be the absolute worst disaster. So they definitely have flight termination systems. In fact, I think every single rocket that takes off has an FTS. And that's one of the things you hear on the Falcon launches. When they get close to orbit, they say, well, 2 things. The booster, when it gets close to the drone ship, says FTS is safe, and that means that the flight termination system is safe. When it gets close down to the booster, they turn it off. And then also they say that on the second stage, when it gets really, really close to orbit, they turn off the flight termination system. But it's active the whole time up until then. So for sure, they would terminate it if they need to. As far as an escape capsule for the humans, no. There is nothing at the present moment. Everyday Astronaut did a very, very, I think it was him. I think that's right. I think it was the Everyday Astronaut did a very long, extensive kind of review of abort systems, right? So the Apollo, the Dragon, the Soyuz, and the Mercury. I'm trying to think. Those 4 definitely use parachutes and a capsule. The Soyuz lands on land, but the other 3 landed in water. The space shuttle obviously came down as an airplane did. It had no abort system at all. And then the Starship has no abort system built in. Oh, and the Gemini, that was the other one. It had parachutes to come down on, but their ejection system, or their safety system, was actually ejector seats that would shoot the guys out of the capsule like airplane fighter pilots. It would shoot them out, and hopefully their parachutes would activate. Pretty crazy. The escape systems that are on the Apollo, that were on the Apollo and the Mercury, and are on the Dragon, they're kind of propulsive from the bottom, but the other ones were on top. They're that tower that sticks up. Solid rocket boosters would pull the thing off, and then that would eject itself. But anyway, there is none for the Starship because there's really no sense in having one. There's kind of no way to get them out. So it's got to be safe. And it is dangerous. I mean, one of the reasons why the space shuttle was so dangerous was because it didn't have an abort system, which really could have helped them out in that situation. But the space shuttle also had the fuel tank right next to the space shuttle. And the Starship has the Starship on top of the fuel tank. So there's a whole different level of safety, and I think that the Starship will be significantly safer once it's all operating and good. But there's a lot of people who argue that we shouldn't take the Starship into space with humans in it. What we should do is, at least not for a while, what we should do instead is that we should launch a Falcon with the humans in it, and then they should transfer to the Starship after it's in space, and then transfer back to the Falcon before it lands. And I think that's a reasonable argument in the near term until the Starship has proved its safety. So there you go. William, message restricted again. I don't have no idea what that. All right. Aptera reboot. Dogs are like Alexa. Certain words should only be spelled when they are around. Exactly. That is true. If I had spelled, they're not even in the room right now, but if I say WALK, they would definitely be in all over me. So I don't want that. I don't want to have to fight them off while I'm trying to do this live stream. Let's take a quick look at SpaceX. We are down to 12.5 minutes. Woohoo! Getting close, man. And on Discord, we're seeing, looks like engine chill in one of the streams. That's cool. And T-minus 23 minutes, that was for, so like T-minus 18 minutes. So what would that give us? Oh, wow. So that's only about 6 minutes difference between when they're going to start their live stream and when they're planning on launching. So that'll be interesting. All right. Luke says, love your Huskies. I have always wanted one, but I have heard they are very high maintenance. They are high maintenance in two ways. Number one, this time of year when it gets warm, they shed like crazy. we have a robot vacuum, and the poor thing runs like every single day trying to clean up the husky fur. So that's number one why they're high maintenance, because they shed like nobody's business. The other thing is that they do love to run. So I'd kind of just do it once a day. We do have a whole backyard, and I know you can't see it, but I'm gesturing towards it anyway. But we have a fenced-in backyard, and they have a dog door, so they come and go whenever they want. They're both of my Huskies are pretty mature dogs, so they just sleep all day. But once a day, they want their walk, and they're like, give me the walk. So they will definitely ask for it at that time of day, and that just happens to be now. It's like a little before sunset. So they're high maintenance in that way, but I would actually suggest if you want a Husky, I know Husky babies are just the cutest things ever, but you could get a rescue Husky, because a lot of people do return them to dog pounds and stuff, because when they're young, they really are active, and you really do need, you can't have a city apartment, a tiny little apartment with a Husky inside it. That's just not going to work very well. But if you have some land, and especially if you have like a fenced-in area or something like that where they can kind of get their yayas out when they want to, then they're amazing dogs and I love them. But I was going to say you could rescue one that's like 2 years old or something. And if you do that, they'll already be pretty mature and they'll have calmed down, and they should be, I find them easier to take care of than our pug. We have a pug and she is a nightmare. Of course, she's also not quite 2 years old yet, so she's still in her puppy stage. So anyway, so they are high maintenance-ish, but they're not as bad as people say. I just think as long as you have land, they just need land. They can't be in a tiny little apartment or something. So, William Franklin says, why don't they just use Nikola Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower and hover technology? Oh man, if only, right? So for those who don't know, he developed this huge tower, and I can't remember why it got shut down. I think he got shut down by Thomas Edison, or I know he and Edison were always fighting each other, but I think that that somehow they got the whole thing shut down. Oh, here's the other Husky. There's Diesel. He's a rescue. Hey, buddy. Okay, say hi to everybody. Yeah. He's the shy boy. Anyway, we think he's part Malamute because he's 85 pounds. He is a big boy. So anyway, but he was a rescue, and he's been super nice. He's a good boy. Anyway, and then the pug's over here too, so definitely can tell it's walking time. Anyway, as we get close to the launch, I'll probably shut the door so they can't come wandering in. But in the meantime, so yeah, so it'd be pretty cool to have that technology, like a hover technology. Somebody needs to rebuild that thing and just see if it worked, because Nikola Tesla was pretty darn smart. So maybe they should do that. That would be pretty cool. All right. And then Ludek, yes, Carpathia is from Slovakia. Nikola Tesla is from Serbia. Close to my country. Good job. All right, cool. I got the two countries are like real next to each other. So anyway, yeah, so Andrei Carpathia, I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, your country's spitting out smart people if he's a good representative. So there you go. Hassan says, shared this live stream. Thank you, Hassan. I appreciate that. I definitely will. We'll see how it goes. Carpathia is also in Poland. So Marcin, oh gosh, Gorzyka, I guess Gorzyka, something like that. Who I assume that's Polish last name. Says Carpathia is also in Poland. I assume that means the last name. Andrei is from Slovakia, but it could certainly be a Polish last name, because, you know, who knows where people come from originally. But anyway, so he's a pretty amazing guy. All right. Rob says, Doc, reusable boosters, old problem that SpaceX was first to solve, or was it an original SpaceX idea? Oh, gosh, it was definitely not a SpaceX idea. I mean, go back to the 1950s. Look at Wernher von Braun when he did those specials for Disney, and even before that. But they definitely showed their big, it looked just like a Starship. It went up into space and it came back down and landed on its three little pointy legs. So the idea of reusable spacecraft has been around forever. It was just hard as hell to do. I mean, that's basically what it is. It was really, really tough to land a spaceship, which is why it's taken until 2000 and when was it? 2015 or 16 when they did the first landing. But anyway, it was quite a while before they managed the two. Let me turn the SpaceX live stream. Okay, so apparently we've got a lot of venting going on right now. Woohoo! In a weird way, I'm actually the one who can see the least of this because I'm trying to deal with all of these other things. So anyway, it's kind of goofy. Everybody else can see and I can't. Wasn't that what Michael Collins said, who was the guy who was the commander of the Apollo spacecraft when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin went down to the moon on Apollo 11? Everybody in the world was watching their televisions, and Michael Collins said, I'm the only guy who can't see what's going on because I'm floating around the Earth. So, I mean, around the moon. So anyway, kind of ironic. If you're at the center of it all, you can't see it all. So kind of interesting stuff. But yes, reusable boosters. I mean, heck, the space shuttle, the two solid rocket boosters were reusable. So definitely boosters have been, the idea of a reusable booster has been around for a very long time. The reality of making it happen, much, much more difficult, which is why it's taken so long. So there you go. Matthew. Oh, really? Matthew Suggs. So I assume this means the Wardenclyffe Tower, they are working on a bigger one in California. I don't know where that is. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. I want to see a picture. Somebody, I need to remember this for after the live stream. Somebody needs to find me a picture of the Wardenclyffe Tower. And by the way, there are photographs of the original one because, of course, it was, what, 1910-ish? So it was well after the age of photography, so people took pictures of it. It's like insanely big. The idea, I think, was to provide limitless wireless power to everyone. I'm pretty sure that was the goal of that tower. It was insane. And I mean, who knows that it would have worked, but it would have been really nice to have given it a chance to see what would have happened. William says, I think I can rebuild it. I know the secret. All right, William. Let me tell you, man, if you do that, you will win a Nobel Prize, right? I would have to think for something, because you would solve the world's energy problem if you could do that. So you go for it. As long as you know the secret button, we're all good to go. Oh, too funny. Oh, wow, down to 4.5 minutes. Yay. So I'll cut this in just a little while and see how they go. Oh, man, I'm so excited. This whole thing, I was like, nah, this is never going to happen. But I have a really good track record. I don't know why, but when I live stream, they have a tendency to launch. So, oh, yeah. All right, hold on. Let's see if I can do this before I have to switch over. I've got a picture. I wish I could do this more quickly, but all right. Open original. Sorry, this is annoying. All right, because I basically have to copy the web page URL, but one of the people on Discord found me a picture of the Warden Cliff Tower, so that's pretty cool. Let me switch this over. Got just enough time to take a look at it quick before. There it is. Not the largest picture in the world, but yeah, look at that tower. I mean, look at the size of that building. That thing was huge. That's like Starship level. It's probably not quite as tall as a Starship, but probably around the base. It's as big as a Starship, so that's pretty cool. So thank you to my Discord folks. I appreciate you guys. You're marvelous. Alrighty. And by the way, if you want to join Discord, you can join Patreon. Patreon.com/DrKnowItAllKnows. At any level, doesn't matter, even $1 or €1 or whatever. And I'll give you access to the Patreon site, or the Discord site. So pretty cool people. Let me just turn off my microphone for like 2 seconds and actually clear my throat before we get going here. All right, there we go. Time for SpaceX Cam 306. Oh, I can't believe how close we are. Woo! I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited too. I can't wait. All right. Carter says, so close it's exciting. Hey Carter, it's good to see you back again. I love to recognize the people who like come back from time to time, so that's really cool. And thank you all for watching so much. Oh, man. 2.5 minutes to the live stream. And then according to the folks on Discord, there's only about, I think about 6 or 7 minutes between when the live stream goes live and when the launch actually happens. So we will see. I'm wondering, let me see. Oops, nope, that's not the one I wanted to move. Well, I don't know. I'll wait until it goes live because I was actually thinking about potentially like trying to capture this in a little corner. Maybe I'll shrink this down. It's probably going to be completely shrimpy if I do, but let me put this above SpaceX. Okay. And let me shrink it down. There we go. So I'm going to shrink it down in the corner. I'll kind of make it go away if it gets to be, but it's really hard to see, but the ship appears to be like right there. So again, might not be super useful, but we might get something cool out of that. And let me turn SpaceX back on. Oh wow, hey, we're live streaming, I think. Super. Let me change the size of this guy to make it bigger. Oops, that's not the one again. Ah, it's annoying to try to capture the. All right, sorry. I'll get us set up here. Want you guys to get the best experience possible here. Although I'm sure you're probably watching on 5 different screens at the same time. So, all right. Yeah, all right. So, I'll check in from time to time, but I think we'll just do that. All right. Super cool. Okay. And if I get in the way, I'll kind of shrink myself down a little bit further so that I can make sure that we got as much view as possible. I can't believe this is about to happen. Let me see if the SpaceX feed is going.
Affirmative to both. I've checked in with.
Good afternoon. You're looking at SpaceX's
right.
Starship suborbital test vehicle number 15.
Not really
countdown to
hearing
flight
much
in
going
just
on
under
there.
5 minutes.
I don't know if you guys can hear it, but oh, there we go. Okay.
It was almost 5 weeks ago.
Okay, so there we go. Okay, I've hopefully turned it down. I'll keep my headphones on because that's going to be really weird because I can. All right, so he's pretty quiet now. All right. Oh wow. Okay. I can't really do that because I can hear myself too well. So it's like I'm getting a delay between me and the other. So I'm just going to have to go with it. You guys tell me if anything cool is happening. So here we go. Let's see if we can actually see anything. So it'd be in this area. You can't really see the smoky, foggy stuff. Okay, so super quick rundown on what's going to happen here. assuming it takes off in 3 minutes and 49 seconds, it will go up. It's not going to be going like crazy, you know, whatever to the wall to orbit. It will launch with all 3 engines, and then it will go up, and then it will cut 1 engine out, and then it will cut 2 engines out, and it's going to chill out up at about 10 kilometers of altitude, or 10,000 meters of altitude, or is that 30,000 feet? Is that right? Wow, yeah, it's pretty high. So it's up there. So anyway, and it'll hang out up there for a while, and then it will dump all of its propellant like the last times, and then it will fall, and it will flip itself over so it falls belly first, which is where those black tiles are that are on the bottom side. It will fall, and then at the last second, it's going to flip upright and try to land. And the flip upright and try to land part has been when everything has gone to hell in the past. By the way, this is kind of a strangely sad experience. I'm watching this, and I realized that this was the craft that when I was down in Boca Chica, and by the way, I can't really put it live, but definitely search my channel, because in the last couple of videos, there's us, you know, going to see a Starship live and first impressions. There's a whole bunch of videos about going to see the serial number 15, and I'm actually kind of sad. I mean, I hope it survives. It's sort of like I have an emotional connection having been there with it. So fingers crossed that it actually makes it and comes back down and touches down. The landing pad, by the way, if you see those little black fuel farm things over there, the landing pad is actually kind of over beside those-ish. So it's a little hard to tell from where we are because the big fuel tanks are behind the Starship, but basically it's directly behind the Starship and Hoppy. So it's not that far. It's only maybe 40 or 50 meters away from the launch pad. So it's really not that far. So it's kind of crazy how close the launch and the landing pads are. Again, I thought that they were going to land really far away. It's also interesting that they trust this all enough that they're leaving the test nose cone there. And that was over in the construction facility area when I was actually watching, or when I went there in person. So they moved it over to the launch areas. Fascinating that they don't think that the thing's going to blow up and damage it. I guess they're okay with it. So, all right. Yeah, wow. Suddenly a lot of people are... Here we go. How long will the test take? The test will take about 6 minutes and 20 or 30 seconds, depending on how fast it comes down, assuming everything goes well, right? So it won't be that long. It's a real short little time. And let's see. So close card. I know. Yoo-hoo. Tom Tarzan says, thanks for the cool insights. You are absolutely welcome. That's why I'm here. I love to share this. I don't know. I'm a big kid and I love space. So why not share this with everybody? And then Tronicum saying it's happening. I know, right? Get out of the way, number 1. From William. Yeah, thank you. I'll move myself over and shrink myself down if I'm getting in the way of any of the cool video or anything like that. Shawshank, I'm not getting SpaceX YouTube stream. Oh no. Well, hopefully you're getting it from me, right? You should be, I hope, actually experiencing it through me. Starship to ace the landing, 80% odds. I'm gonna increase the odds. Let's go with 90% odds. Why not? It's like a weatherman. I could say anything I want and be like, I said 10% chance it would crash. So here we go. Super exciting. Oh my goodness. All right. I'm not going to get to hear. I'll have to watch it again to hear the actual like audio, because the audio is so cool. I'm going to turn the audio on the ship up just a wee bit on SpaceX. So 5 seconds, people. Come on, baby. Light those engines. Light those engines. Yes. Come on. Yes, yes, we have a launch, a super, oh, look at poor little Hoppy. Oh, I got to move myself. See, I knew I'd have to move myself. Oh, that is amazing. Here, I'll just temporarily put myself over here. Little itty bitty John. All right. Oh, wow. Look how foggy it is. You can't see a blessed thing. Hopefully it'll come out of the fog and we will be able to see when it gets, all right, yep, okay. So we can tell it's going up because you can see the streamers coming down. There we go, that's a good view. Like that view. So my goodness, they really literally did take off in the fog. Just for interest's sake, yeah, you can't see a blessed thing. That's a shame. I'll have to go back and watch Mars Embassy's live stream later and see if we could actually see the little pinpoint of light. Wow, look at that. So the brown, That seems to be methane exhaust, but it seems too dark. That happened last time, but I mean, it looks like the engines are burning cleanly. Serial number 61 is looking at us. So it looks like they're burning cleanly. You can see the little stubby landing legs. Those are the things that are tucked up right now. Oh man, my video froze. So I may just cut my video off because there's no point in taking up space if you can't even see me. So, all right. So anyway, up we go. And it should keep going till, oh gosh, what is the, I'm trying to remember the timing. It's somewhere in the 4.5 minute range, I think, when it will stop. So the engines will, well, now we don't have a feed of anything. That's a little scary. I'm hoping it's just because it's cut out telemetry, but there's definitely no action happening. That's a little scary. Gosh. Wow, I don't know. All right. So I don't know. We're just gonna have to hold tight and see what's going on. It's definitely still counting. So it looks like so it looks like I'm looking at a couple of other live streams and everybody else is having the same trouble. So it is, okay, wait, we actually have, we had some sort of motion here. This is really disappointing. Ah, man, what a shame. And of course with the cloud cover, nobody's cameras are able to pick it up either, so. Oh, this is a real big bummer. And I'm also sorry that of course my camera decided to die right then. Yep, it's still dead. So anyway, at least you don't have to look at my ugly mug while we're talking here. Well, it should be it should be getting close to its apogee of sorts within the next minute or so. The only thing that's interesting that's happening here is the clock is ticking up. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay. Man, I wonder if actually, you know, Boca Chica's actually gotten so crazy. I wonder if like everybody's cell phones and stuff interfered with each other and caused problems. So, all right. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully they will pick up the feed again. Wow, this is super disappointing. I was really hoping to catch something out of this, so. Yeah, rocket. Thank you, William, for thanking me. Oh, here we go. Okay, we got some live feed again. All right, so and it cut out again. It looks to me like they are falling, right? I do not see any engine plume. So the good news is, I think as long as the clock is running, they're getting telemetry. I think last time when the Starship exploded, like serial number 11, the clock stopped. So I'm thinking that that's what's going on here, but they're just losing telemetry. There's something going on. I love the shot from inside. I mean, it's beautiful, and the legs are very, very clear this time. So those little stubby legs are going to flip out, and yep. So it's falling for sure. Oh, good. Okay, here we go. Yay! All right. So hopefully it'll keep up. I don't know what the heck's going to happen when it hits the clouds again, because of course it'll be super foggy, but hopefully we'll get some sort of indication. I mean, obviously if it explodes, we're not going to get any indication. It'll just be boom and everything will stop. But so it should land somewhere around 6 minutes and 20 seconds-ish. So that, again, that's judging from all the previous flights. So it's not... Okay, the outside one seems to be working better than the inside one. You can see all the contrails coming off and the clouds coming down. I'm sure, wow, 19, 20. All right, we're getting pretty close. I mean, I think the flip maneuver happens at about 550-ish. So again, we're getting broken up, but it's better than nothing. I'm just glad it's still there. So, all right, come on, baby. Here's where the important stuff is all about to happen. So hopefully we will get... we will get engine relights. Yeah, they're gimbling around. You can see them gimbling. And there it goes. Yes, come on. Oh, and we can actually see it. That is fantabulous. Oh, and it's a beautiful, slow, come on, I'm raising the odds up to 100% here, baby. It's gonna go down. I don't see the landing legs deployed though. I swear I didn't see the landing legs. I think it did it though. I swear, I think it did it. I think it did it. We gotta wait for the smoke to clear. There's a fire. Oh, yes, yes, Starship serial number 15. Yeah, baby. Oh, that makes me so happy. I can't believe it made it. So there's a little fire going on, hopefully. And look, that's not leaning over at all. The last time we had significant issues with serial number 10, where it was just kind of leaned over. Oh, come on, put out the fire. They really, really, really need to get that fire out so that it doesn't blow up. I don't know why they keep having so many problems with fire. Wow, that is so cool. I'm so happy. Woohoo! Oh, and I'm still frozen. That just sucks. Ah, all right. Wow, look at that. If they can just get the fire out. Oh, man. Here's hoping. After this calms down a little bit, I'm gonna like quit and relaunch so I can like get my face back on here, but I don't want to mess up the stream while it's there. I can't believe it landed. Come on, baby, put out the fire. We don't need the thing to explode while we're sitting here looking at it. So 608, that's actually great. I think that was actually slightly faster than the other tests have been. I think they crashed it around 6:15. Oh my gosh, that fire really doesn't look good. Where's the water deluge system? So look behind the Starship where the fuel tanks are. You see that big pile of dirt? They were building that when I was there. And then of course the beach is behind it. But that pile of dirt is a berm, so in case it explodes, it will hit the dirt instead of hitting all the fuel tanks and everything. That is so cool. It landed. Woo! My camera froze, so you can't see anybody, but you can somehow. Misinformation's here. My wife, she's around, and it looks like they're detanking. I can see that they've got a lot of frost on the belly. I think that's where the oxygen is. I believe the oxygen's on the bottom. So anyway, but whatever it is, it's cryogenic, and you can see that they're trying to vent it quickly, but I'm a little bit worried about the fact that that flame is still going. Last time they had water deluge systems, but I think I see a little baby one, but I don't see. I don't know. We're gonna have to keep an eye on this because it could explode. That fire is not getting any smaller, so I'm a little bit worried about it. I'm gonna be really sad if SN15 blows up because I have a very personal connection to this spaceship. So come on, baby. Come on, baby. You gotta get this guy. So I'm impressed actually that SpaceX is continuing their coverage. Let's see if we've got, yep. A lot of venting. Okay, so more venting's going on. I really, man, if they could just get the fire out. I think if they can clear the enough of the gases out of there, they'll clear the fire. But so it looks like SpaceX is about to end their live stream. So I'll kind of hoof it back to Mars Embassy. So that's really amazing, amazing, amazing stuff. Wow. So, okay, let me do a couple of quick things here. So here, just in case we get an explosion, we will have a good view of it from here. So, wow, I'm super, super excited. Okay, sorry, I haven't been looking at people's comments for a while. Let me stop the live stream and put my face back up again so you can see me. And then I will recontinue, so I'll be back in just a couple of seconds. So hold on one sec, I'll be right back. All right, so back again. Sorry about that. It's very annoying that my FaceTime camera keeps dying on me. All right, let's get Mars Embassy back up again here, just in case anything interesting happens. And just a second, when I get this back on, I will try to answer questions. I saw a bunch of people on here. So that was, unfortunately, the visuals were not that great until the end, but the result was fantastic. Man, I'm happy. I can't even believe that we actually had a successful landing. That's like, whew, alrighty. So anyway, okay, let's go back to theater mode. There we go. All right. Okay, cool. So let me take a quick look back through these things. Okay. No mini fires in the engine bay. Good sign. Aptera reboot. Yes, it was a little scary that it was burning for so long after the landing, but I don't know. Adam says, wise choice. Hopefully that was something I did that was a wise choice. So here we go. Josh says, Mars, here we come. Yes, Josh Quintilla. This was absolutely huge. There's kind of no way of overstating just how important this landing was, because if they couldn't get this landing to work, it was going to be a significant problem. And the fact that they can stick this landing now means that basically their methodology of coming back down and landing is actually going to work. And that is incredible. So Mars, here we come for sure. European techie, geez, okay. Art Vandalay, it's going to explode. Well, we're watching the live stream from Mars Embassy right now. So if it does, we will definitely see a big orange flash in the background, but I'm hoping that we don't, because I actually want to go back down to Boca Chica and see serial number 15 and maybe serial number 16. So, oh man, it's so satisfying to see that land after all those attempts. That is amazing. Art Vandalay says nobody's going to risk and try to put the fire out. That is true, but in the past they have had water deluge. They've had like a sprinkler system that was trying to put it out, but I don't know what happened to it this time. So, let's see. Yes, Shawshank says, congratulations, right? Yeah, very, very happy moments. And Bubsy says, I think the water's being sprayed on the left side. Yeah, so right, I saw that too, Bubsy. It looks like the water deluge system was on the wrong side, and it was just like spraying the wrong part of the craft. I really hope it survives, because they need to examine the spaceship, like I was saying way, way earlier in this live stream. They need to look at the spaceship. They need to see what worked well, what's worn funky. They need to look at the Raptor engines after they fired for that long and see how they did. They need to figure out what the heck is causing all these fires. And they need to look at the heat tiles. So those heat tiles on the side are super critical, because they got to figure out which ones have stuck on the best, how they fared, whether they've cracked, anything like that. So it's really important that they get this ship back and recover it. And they may just tear it to pieces. So SN15 may not launch again. Some people had talked about it launching as a possibility, and it definitely might launch again. They might just decide to stick it right back up on the stand like tomorrow and try to launch it again and see what happens. But they also might just want to tear the whole thing apart and see what's going on and see how it's working. So we will see, but hopefully either way, I hope it doesn't explode. That would be super, super bad. So Josh Quintilla says, Elon didn't start the fire. No, he didn't light it, but he tried to fight it. Okay, a little Billy Joel action there. So maybe, they should maybe do that for their Saturday Night Live sketch, right? They could be like, Elon didn't start the fire. Anyway, oh, that'd be awesome. Oh, Shawshank said the fire is out. I don't have a view of that, but let's see. I've got a live view. Yeah, I can't see it right now. But anyway, apparently the fire's out, so that's fantastic news. That is excellent. Martin says, how many minutes last time before it exploded? It was 6 minutes. So I think if the fire's out, we're actually safe. But also remember last time when serial number 10 came down, it went boom, boom like that. And it ended up like just sitting. It looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa when it got done. It did not look healthy. And it was burning and etc. And uh-oh. Whoa, what is that? Ruh-roh. Or we may be wrong. We may have had an explosion. I can't tell. There is a huge orange cloud. Did anybody see that? Goodness, or maybe that was just a replay. Sorry. I'm watching another stream and I couldn't tell, but I'm not seeing anything in the live stream from Mars Embassy. For sure we would see something really bad happening, because that is the Starship. In fact, let me see if there's any way that I can go back. Yeah, it's fine. Sorry. That was a replay. Let me see if I can go back in time. It's really difficult to do this with OBS software, but I'm going to see if I can rewind to back when the launch was going on. Oh, wow, it's hard to tell. Maybe I can catch the landing. Let's see, where are we here? Nope, I still see. Still see something. Gosh, where is it? Oh, well, maybe it's there, because it's gone now. Okay, I think hopefully it's playing. So I think we're now rewound a little bit. So hopefully we'll get a view of it as it comes down. That looks like, I swear that looks like it's Yeah, now it looks like it's back again. Very strange. I thought for sure I'd be able to capture it. I must be looking in the wrong place. It's really hard to tell because it's so foggy, of course. But yeah, unfortunately, I'm just not seeing where it's taken off. But let me see if I can rewind the SpaceX live stream, and we can catch the ending of it just a little bit here. So replay. Oh, all right. They've got instant replay. Nice. Hopefully it'll do it. All right. Let me kick forward, obviously. All right. So yeah, somewhere around here. Yeah, 5:42. Okay. So here's the landing. Whoops. Oh, geez. Sorry. It's not up. Got to turn that off. There we go. All right. Hold on. Let me try that one more time. Okay. All right. So it's coming down. It's coming down. It's just about to do its flip maneuver. And somewhere around 5:50, I kind of cut out there, but there you can see it's doing the flip. And then I think, weird. That's very strange because it's like actually stuck with the replay doesn't seem to have the alternate view. Well, that's unfortunate. So, or is this serial number 10? Oh, this was actually serial number 10. That's the problem. I was like, wait a second. It was such a, yeah, serial number 11. I'm sorry. Anyway, let me go back. Well, unfortunately, we don't have that. So, all right. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just have to wait a while for serial number 15 to get there. But all right. Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, well, that's really weird. That didn't look the same at all. So, all righty. Tanks are venting. Looks good. Yeah, I think we've definitely passed the 6-minute mark. There's still a fire going on, though, as far as I can tell. Or no, maybe not. Okay, that's a replay. So sorry. I'm looking at things in different times, etc. So, all right. Yeah, the feature, the fire at the end is a feature, not a bug, according to Art Vandalay. There you go. I like that idea. We'll just do that. And David Smith says, Eureka, hopefully no celebratory fireworks. So I do too. Okay, so I've been online for a really long time. This has been a wonderful live stream, but I do have to go walk my doggies before it gets dark. It's almost 7 o'clock where I am. So I'm going to sign off, and I see that my stupid camera has died again. I think I might go back to my old system for the next live stream unless I can figure out why this is doing this. Apple, come on, man. Got to get your cameras working. Anyway, so yeah, super exciting. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been a wonderful experience. And of course, if you watch this as a replay later on, you're certainly welcome to ask me questions in the comments below, and I will try to answer those. But of course, if you watch live streams next time, so either when serial number 15 or 16 takes off again, you will have an opportunity to watch it live stream with me again. So definitely come back and subscribe so you can see more of these. Alrighty, and Neil says, well done, thank you. Thank you, Neil, for watching halfway around the world, literally. So there you go. And William, everything is good. I just looked, they are venting. So excellent. This is great news, everybody. I hope that I get a chance to get down to Boca Chica to see serial number 15 after it's launched and to see the next one launch. So I will see you all later. Have a lovely evening or morning or whatever it is, wherever you are. Thank you.